This is Indecisive Cinema, episode 31.
31 episodes.
How you doing, Carlos?
I'm good, brother Jeremy. Good. It's been 2 weeks, right? Yeah.
2 weeks? Is that
Right?
right?
Yeah,
I
because
think so.
we did it the
Lots
week.
happened in these past 2 weeks. I'm like all out of whack.
Yeah, I got the kids for the summer, so we've been binge watching stuff, and I got to get Shudder on Wednesday for Gloriana. I promised her Shudder, so I got to buy that.
Wait,
off
I can give you my login. I have Shudder.
So then give what? Then give me a line.
Now that you don't have Amazon anymore, I'll give you
No.
mine.
I don't have HBO,
Well,
but I could access it through Amazon.
I also have HBO, but not through Amazon. I don't think.
So
But
just
we have HBO. I can give you the login for HBO as well.
do that then. What are you doing? Look at it, Jeremy. Bro, definitely send me Shudder.
You just told me today you didn't have either of those things. So
Well, I did tell you about HBO, but yeah,
I had known that you couldn't watch Phantom Thread because you didn't have HBO.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I
It's in my
dropped everything I
queue,
was
and now
doing.
when I went to go, I was going to see Black Klansman, and then it was like, you need HBO, so I was like, what? But anyway, yeah, send me both. I'm going to bother you now later. Send me both so I don't have to bother.
Wait, you've had your girls for the whole summer and you haven't seen Midsommar yet?
You know, check this out. So we've been talking about a day where I can take Glow and watch like nonstop horror films in theaters because the kids are mixed. Like my daughter my youngest daughter's into Chucky now, so we can see the new shitty Child's Play remake. But actually, Emma saw Hereditary and loved it, so we could actually see that together. But anyway, she tells me
Midsommar. If she's seen Hereditary, Midsommar's not nearly as
yeah, and
rough.
I heard that, and so she said
There's moments of it that are. But
she says
we'll
to
get
me,
to that later. I'm
she
going to
says-
review it.
Well, she says to me real quick. She's like, "Oh well, I really don't want to see it as much as I want to anymore, but I do want to see it." That's what she said. I said,
What
"What
does
an
that
asshole."
even mean?
But that was me. I've had the kids. So I've been watching TV and hanging out with my kids, going tearing it up so far.
You watch a lot of movies.
Yeah, well, you saw my list.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we stacked onto the list when you sent me what you've seen because I've seen Midsommar 3 times, but I haven't
Holy
seen.
cow, you bastard!
I haven't seen anything else. Well, I have, but not nothing new really. We've got a couple movies. I mean, I saw Art of Self Defense at Draft House.
Yeah,
where it premiered, and
I wanna see
then
that.
I saw Under the Silver Lake, which isn't a new release, but it's I guess it kind of is. Which you've also seen, so we'll discuss that. Spider-Man: Far From Home.
You saw it.
Yes, I did.
Okay, good.
And then High Life. So
Yeah.
we've got a few new releases that both of us have seen, and
Yeah, I think I've seen everything on this list but Simon Says and someone.
well, Simon Says is a terrible film.
It's an action film.
It stars
then I did
Dennis
see it.
Rodman.
I did see it.
Yeah.
But how about you? How you been doing so far? We haven't seen each other 2 weeks.
Going well. I mean, I went to Chicago. I guess we recorded the Friday before I
Friday
left.
before, yeah.
Which is just absolute insanity. I can't believe we were able to get an episode in before I left because I was so swamped trying to get stuff done. And then even on my trip, I still had to do. There was a few things I had to take care of while just business wise on there. And it was just I had a blast, but it was like back-to-back stuff the whole week. Like
I'll bet.
Because John picked me up from the airport, so I hung out with them Sunday. And then the next 3 days, he dropped me off at my grandfather's. So I was at my grandfather's house for like 2 or 3 days, helped him with the garden and shit like that. And then I went back to John and Kara's and hung out in the city for 2 or 3 days before I left. And we went and saw There Will Be Blood. It was just screening at this theater in Logan Square, which is fucking amazing on the big screen. That was really cool. Also, Midsommar came out, so we went and saw that.
Oh, you saw it with John, and Kara? Okay.
Yeah, I saw Hereditary with them as well, and Kara's like super into horror films. So,
okay.
And John's starting to get on the
Yeah, because
bandwagon.
he was always afraid of horror.
Yeah, but he's
So
starting
you
to like
saw it
them
on
too.
on Amazon Prime or?
No, we watched it in the theater. Midsommar or
No, you said Hereditary.
Oh, yeah, we went and saw that in the theater when it came out, but here in Houston when they were still living here.
Oh, okay, okay.
So yeah, because I had seen it, I saw that movie like 6 times in theaters.
yeah.
I love that film. It's
a great film.
But yeah, so I mean, I just had a really great time in Chicago. It was nice to like go and hang out in the suburbs with my grandfather and kind of live that life for a couple days, and then go in the city and like experience Chicago as an adult.
Yeah.
And get on the trains, and like we went downtown to watch the fireworks show that the city of Chicago was putting off at Navy Pier, which you would think would be like a spectacular event.
Yeah. No.
And it was like it was just way shorter than I expected. We spent like an hour getting there, and then they closed off Navy Pier, so you couldn't actually get on the actual pier itself. And so if you weren't on the water, there's like trees everywhere, so you really couldn't get a good view because they didn't launch these fireworks like high enough for. It was a really mediocre show in general.
Yeah.
Like from what we could see because we were blocked by trees, but even just that, it was just a really underwhelming show. And it ended. It was like 14 minutes long or something, which I don't know why, but I expected something longer. Maybe it's because I know down here in Houston, or at least in Kemah, even the Kemah area,
Kemah,
like the Seabrook one is like usually 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
So I don't, it's like for how much hype we had around it, it just was so disappointing.
Underwhelming,
But we did get to, because we couldn't get like right back on the train because there were like 100,000 people there. And apparently like a bunch of people got stabbed and shot right after we left and trampled like in a,
oh my God.
So there was a fucking crazy stuff going on. We got out of there though, cause we were like, this thing sucks. And we left. But we got to like kind of walk downtown though and see like the river and all that stuff. Which is just cool. Cause I haven't, as an adult, I haven't spent a lot of time downtown in Chicago. Cause I lived there when I was 7. So, But so that was even though it was a disappointing like fireworks show, it was still cool to like
of course.
go get on the city, see the city and just kind of
your granddad
hang out
and everything. Yeah, that's cool. Dude.
So, but yeah, it was, and then I came back and shot 2 weddings and that weekend, and then I've been editing since then and shot another one yesterday. So. I shot a morning wedding yesterday, which was amazing.
That's why we couldn't do the show Friday, because you had an early morning shoot.
Exactly. I had to wake up at like 6, which is way earlier than I'm used to. It was at the Bell Tower downtown.
Nice.
It's a nice venue, but they run it like a factory. It's like a they just like they'll do 3 weddings there at a time. It's a big venue, but it's not like most of the areas are separated by like one wall. So if you have like loud music playing, like that's a big problem.
Really, and it picks up on.
Oh, totally. It's like a movie theater. Like if you have no noise in one and like a lot in the other, it's like, and it's just I hate the way they do business because I don't think wedding venues should be like that. But
that's crazy.
They're doing well. So what can I say?
It's like a franchise wedding type thing, like McDonald's.
Exactly, literally, and they have a sign out front that's like all vendors should know exactly which ballroom your wedding is in, what your couple's name is, and what your load-in time is. And if you come early, it will be automatically billed to the client. And you're like, Jesus Christ. Like that's the first impression. You know?
That's crazy.
And so they're just like, it's insane. And they're like, there's like a parking Nazi there. He's just like he like rules the place like a fortress. It's just it's a beautiful venue though. There's and it looks great on camera, which is awesome. We're filming there later this year. Again, but I don't know. I hate that venue. Anyway, shout out to Bell Tower on the 34th.
Shout out to that Bell Tower.
But yeah, so ultimately, that brings us to today.
Yes, amen.
I was going to do a sprint triathlon this morning, and it got canceled, which is why we're here. So,
a sprint
because of weather, even though it's beautiful out, we got missed by the storm though that was supposed to hit.
Thank God. Yeah.
But yeah, we were doing, me and my buddy Wenzel, my workout partner, we're going to do a sprint triathlon, which is like it's like a swim, bike, and cycle. And we've been training for it for about a month and a half, and then it got fucking canceled and moved to October. So yeah, which sucks.
Chilly.
It's gonna be chilly, especially in the fucking lake that we have to swim in. But it gives me a little bit more time though, because like I don't own a bike currently. I was gonna borrow my dad's, and so it'll give me a little more time. I want to buy one and
buy
really
a
start
sturdy
training.
one.
But it gives me a little more time to do that, which isn't the end of the world, and gives us a more long-term goal because we started this thing with like a month to go, and we've been training really hard for it, and we're ready for it. But he definitely is. He's from the Army, so he's Army trained. I'm not worried about him. But I was just trying to finish it. Is all I was trying to do.
I got you. That's all. The goal.
Yeah, exactly. Finish. But anyway, so that's why we're here, which brings us to episode 31. I guess we can get on with the show after that long opening. Long intro. I'm Jeremy Knight, by the way.
I'm Carlos Hernandez, by the way.
Now you know our whole life story for the past 2 weeks.
Damn, I know this guy's life
at least
stories.
Mine. Yeah, but now we've got some movies. Mostly, we'll start out with trailers because there's a few things that kind of have come out that just were worth noting. One is the new Netflix series based on the video game, the acclaimed one of the best games of all time in my opinion, The Witcher. Which they've finally gotten a teaser for it. And I don't know. So Henry Cavill is the lead star, which I don't think is a bad choice.
No, he looks good. I like it.
But like the rest of the cast though feels like a B cast. Like it feels like they were like spent all their money on Henry Cavill.
Oh yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
it just I don't know how I feel about like once I actually saw the final cast and like even like the choice of certain characters from the video games that they're not using as main characters in the show, which I don't understand. We'll see, because I mean that game's very based in its own lore and characters, and it's very story driven, and so I don't know why you would. It's got a great story, so I don't know why, other than budget, why you would kind of avert from the story, just dramatically at least. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, but it's the other thing though. My friend brought up is I don't know why. So Mads Mikkelsen I think would make a perfect Geralt. And Henry Cavill looks good in it, but when Mads Mikkelsen exists in this world, I feel like he is like literally made for that role, and so it's just even a good actor like Henry Cavill it's a little disappointing. I don't know. I didn't like the teaser at all, honestly. I mean, I know it's just a sneak peek. It wasn't even. It was literally just a reveal of what he looks like. But I don't know. We'll see. That's the first thing. The second thing on my list is Knives Out, which is the new Rian Johnson movie.
I want to see that. It
looks like
trailer.
Clue meets Brick.
Oh my god! What did I tell everybody? I was like, my daughter's the first one says, "Dad," because we just saw Clue a couple of months ago. She was like, "Dad, it looks like Clue for adults."
Yeah,
and I laughed.
literally.
I said, "Well, Clue was Clue for adults."
And that fucking cast that it has too. I mean, like I'm gonna pull it up.
Yeah, it's a great cast. And then I said, "Well, this is basically like Brick meets Clue."
Oh, totally.
And then she was like, "What's Brick?" And then we went into a whole conversation.
Chris
on
Evans,
Brick.
Daniel Craig, Toni Collette, Michael Shannon, Jamie Lee Curtis, Lakeith Stanfield. Like it's just
a great cast.
Christopher Plummer. Like it's ridiculous. Even Noah Sagan. There's like all these like really great kind of smaller roles as well. I mean, it looks really interesting.
It looks amazing. I can't wait to see it. And it sounds funny, Chris Evans, what is CSI?
It looks very darkly funny too.
Yeah,
it just
very
looks
dark,
kind of cynical, and I don't know. I'm really excited for that.
Knives Out is one of my favorites.
I didn't know that Rian Johnson was even making another. I mean, I'm assuming he was because he's a big Hollywood director now. But
he survived that Last Jedi.
I'd heard nothing of this though, so it was kind of a nice surprise.
That's what I said. It came out of nowhere, and I was like, "Oh, cool! I can't wait." So.
And then on a battered or a worse note, I don't know, battered's not a word. So I was watching. I went to see something. I think Spider-Man at District Theaters, and they played a few trailers before. And the first one that they played was I was watching it, and I was like, "This looks like a shitty Charlie's Angels remake." And then it was Charlie's Angels, and I was like, "Oh no!" It's directed by Elizabeth Banks too, and I don't know that she's directed a whole lot.
She did Pitch Perfect 3. I think.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, I remember that. But yeah, I'm interested because of that, because I like Elizabeth. I love Elizabeth Banks. I think she's great. But I'm curious to see what her vision as a director. But this does not look like something that is interesting at all.
Yeah, like my daughter was like, "Is that Bella?" And I said, "Yes, it's Kristen Stewart,"
who I think has actually been a lot better as of late. Kind of like Robert Pattinson,
just like Robert Pattinson. They've done indie. They went the indie way to shed that image, Yeah, and she's really good in some of the movies she's been in. Yeah,
she doesn't look great in this, but I think it's more a script problem than a her problem.
The girl who plays Aladdin Jasmine is the other girl, which I was like saying, "Who is that girl? She looks so familiar." She was like, "Oh, that's Jasmine from the new Aladdin." I was like, "Oh my god, she's really cute."
Gotcha. I forgot that movie existed. I love Aladdin, but I had no interest in it.
You didn't see the new one?
That's the other thing, though. I think they released is it the Lion King trailer, or did that come out this week?
That comes out next week.
Okay.
This week in the 19th. Yeah.
Gotcha. But was there another trailer for another Disney live action movie that came out this past 2 weeks, or was it just they're starting to advertise
Aladdin,
for the Lion King?
And Lion King is being pushed now.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, I may have just seen that trailer for the first time.
Aladdin wasn't that bad. I thought it was going to be horrible, and it was better than expected.
None of these movies are bad. The question is more like whether or not they should be made. Like I don't know.
But that's the whole point is no. But I mean, if they're okay and they're not horrible like Cinderella, which was a horrible Disney live action.
Wait, I thought there was a good Cinderella though. Maybe not. I don't watch these movies.
3 years ago, they did. That was their first of the live action Disney movies was Cinderella.
But didn't one of them get like 100% on it on Rotten Tomatoes?
Beauty and the Beast, maybe that was like the biggest hit they had. That's the best one.
I didn't like that one that much. I mean, it was okay. Let me look. Cinderella. I swore there was a. Didn't they do two? Yeah, this one right here.
Which one?
It has an 84%.
With Kate Blanchett.
2015. With Kate Blanchett.
Really? That was horrible.
Yeah, critics must have liked it. I don't know. Maybe it's just wrong. I haven't seen it, so I can't comment on it. But anyway, I don't know that these movies need to exist. I'm tired of them. My brother and I talked about that for
but like an hour. But The Lion King has a great cast. I can't wait to hear their voices.
It does. Yeah. I still think the problem is like it just feels like this feels like a machine. It feels like what like Disney was trying to do with Star Wars, and people were like, no, we don't want 2 movies a year. Like slow down, and Disney's like, we were 3 this year because we had Dumbo, Aladdin, Lion King.
Exactly.
We got more coming out. It's ridiculous. Anyway,
but when Tim Burton does it, they're not straight up adaptations; they're reimaginings. Basically.
Sure,
because Dumbo was exactly that. It was it was more of a reimagining. The same way with what else is coming out that you can tell is a reimagining. Another movie that's coming out that's a Disney movie, but it's not really straight up like Beauty and the Beast, but it's more like we're going here, we're going there. You know,
they have the new Maleficent.
Maleficent,
movie.
there you go. Which I saw the trailer. I like the trailer. I agree with you where I'm like, what? Why even had a sequel?
I just don't think it feels like they need to put something out in theaters because they know it'll make money. I mean, I understand from a business perspective, but it just feels.
Listen, they just spent
exhausting.
$1 billion on 20th Century Fox. They need money. They need to pay that bill.
Well, they're making plenty of money, so I'm not worried. I'm not worried about Disney.
Me either.
They'll be okay.
I'm going to Disney in 2 weeks, so yeah, they're gonna get my money too.
But yeah, I don't know. I love the original. I think the animated movies are classics. I just don't think they need to be remade. But whatever.
Yeah.
The next thing though is the other trailer that played was it looked. I was like watching. I was like, this looks like a shitty Terminator remake, and then it was another Terminator movie. I was like, God damn it!
With James Cameron producing and the original
Christ, it looks terrible. It looks like a B movie Terminator movie.
But it's being produced by James Cameron.
But that could also just
Linda
be
Hamilton.
I mean, he could just be like if he's not directing it though, he could just have a producing credit because of like he created the series.
I mean, he's been hyping it too. Like when because he's talking about obviously he's talking about Avatar, his next 1,000 sequels.
Yeah, which will never come.
But
are we ever going to get another Avatar movie?
Yeah, the first one comes out in 2020. They already got the date. He said they're working on the. But he said while he's talking about this, they asked him about Terminator. And he goes, "Oh yeah, it's really good. I'm behind it 100%. Just that since I'm doing Avatar, I can't be doing it, so I'm producing it. But I'm so he's a bit. It's not like he's saying, yeah, well, I'm getting paid, so yeah, put my name on it. You know, he's talking about it, and he's saying, listen, Avatar right now is what I want to focus on. So this guy is directing it for me, but I'm there almost every other day, and I'm giving him notes and." So let's see what happens.
So he's involved. That's
he's very much
news.
involved. And then the rumors that Eddie Furlong may show up as the old John Connor, which would be cool. That drug addict.
Interesting.
But, yeah. So, but let's see. But yeah, the trailer is cheesy. I'll give you that. I mean,
it just looked like the actual special effects don't look good. But maybe it's just because they're not finished. I don't think it's finished. But if it's in theaters, you would
November.
Who knows?
November.
We'll see. I was underwhelmed to say the least.
Yeah, I'm definitely.
But that is what it is. Yeah. Enough complaining. We're going to get to High Life, which is the first film on our list of somewhat new releases. This one was supposed to be released like this month, like in theaters.
Yeah.
And then I think it's A24, I believe. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They just kind of shit it out, on demand, and just like I think they played it in a few theaters.
Yeah,
like select,
I remember it being in some theaters.
Like Draft House played it for a day or two, but they didn't play it for a full. It didn't get a full week run in Houston, at least. It's from Claire Denis, who a French filmmaker. She did White Material, Bastards, which was one of the first films I saw of hers. I own White Material. I love that movie. I think it's really interesting, and she's always been a director that kind of subverts expectations just in style and tone, and she's just an interesting filmmaker. I don't always like love her films. Like they're all interesting though, regardless. And this is another one in that similar kind of vein. She co-wrote it and directed it. Stars Robert Pattinson as Monty, who is the movie opens with him and this small child that we assume is his, and they're on some kind of spacecraft in the middle of space, like really, really far away from Earth. And it's very clear immediately that everyone else that was on the ship with him has passed away in some form. We don't know why, and it takes a long time and I can't get too much into details on the plot on this movie because it gives you information pretty sparingly as the movie goes on. I think it fills in, the answers that you need. Yeah. It's not like just giving you no backstory for the sake of, it does a lot of flashback and it kind of fills in the gaps, but I would be spoiling a lot of the movie if I were to give you the entire premise. But the essential premise is that these criminals were chosen by the U.S. government to try and go to a black hole and harness its energy, which is like a silly sci-fi premise, but it works though. It's interesting. It's very, the tone of it's very hopeful, but like dreary at the same time. It reminds me a lot of Sunshine, Danny Boyle's movie, which I really like. I like that film more, I think, than this, but I need to see this again. But it just tonally, it's very similar. It's very, tackles a lot of themes of like loneliness and things like that, because Robert Pattinson's literally like he's talking to himself as the movie opens, because he has no social interaction because everyone else on the spacecraft is dead.
But how about now that you're saying that, I'm like thinking about Moon, and I'm like, well, how close is it to Moon?
It has similar themes to Moon as well. Mm-hmm. I think Moon's certainly a better, more well told story. High Life. It almost feels a little disjointed at times, and I guess I really like this film. I just think there's definitely a few things that when I finished it, I was just like, I felt unsatisfied in a way, and I want to revisit it because there's definitely some interesting stuff in it, and a great performance by Robert Pattinson. I mean, he's great in everything in the past few years for sure, but like this, he's just really terrific here. There's. The movie opens with you get, I don't know, like him. You get a lot with like his relationship with this girl who we assume is his daughter, and I can't get into more detail than that. But basically, he has his routines involving kind of taking care of the child, but also like taking care of the ship and getting just cleaning up. But also, they have to submit these logs to whoever sent them there, and we find out later who that is and what the goal is and what the objectives of that mission are, like I kind of briefly described. But in the beginning, he like sends a message to them and says something along the lines of like, even if you see this in 100 years, fuck you, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but so we get this sense that like the mission has failed in some way, and he is bitter about it for sure. We see scars on his arms, which come across as like suicide, self-harm scars, which evokes the concept of like, you couldn't even, because there's this child here, if he were to kill himself, that kid would die. There's like this strange kind of, at least that's what that scene makes me think. I don't know if that's what they're going for in the movie or not, but there's this interesting concept of like, you can't even kill yourself in this situation because, you feel responsible for this kid. And, there's, I don't know, he even says to the kid, he's like, hang in there, my little baggage, which is an interesting, just concept. And there's a lot of like, this movie is very quiet. It's very methodical. I would say slow, but I don't think it's boring ever. But it gives you information very sparingly, like I said earlier. And you get a lot of like, it almost reminds me of like a Lindelof script where it gives you like little tidbits of information, and this may not work for everybody though, but I felt like I had questions that I was interested in finding the answers to. Sometimes with Lindelof, that's not the case. It's got a great cast as well. There's a lot to talk about here, and I don't really know how to talk about it without spoiling anything, which is the biggest challenge. But it's Mia Goth from Suspiria and Nymphomaniac, Cure for Wellness, plays Boise, who's like this, she's kind of a wild card character. She's very violent and very like just, kind of crazy to some degree. And she's one of the people on this ship, as well as Juliette Binoche, can't pronounce her name, English patient, Cosmopolis, etc. Plays Dibs. She's like this scientist. She refers to herself as a witch because she's practicing witchcraft, and like there's these weird scenes where she like goes into, they have like a sex. This movie has so many strange ideas in it. It's hard to describe without really diving into the details of the film. But they have like a sex machine. It's like where a bunch of the characters go to get off, and she's like harvesting semen from that, I believe is what's happening. And we don't know why, and I won't get into that. And there's all these really strange sci-fi elements to it that in the end leave me with a lot of interesting questions. But while I was watching it, I felt like I didn't quite understand what I was watching and why I was watching it. So I don't know if that's a filmmaking problem or a script problem or even an editing problem, because of the way that this movie's told in flashback and stuff like that. But it's tonally very interesting, and I think really worth watching. They also like the photography of it's very unique. They film on like multiple different formats and different aspect ratios. Like when they're on Earth, it's shot in, and I'm not going to go, I have the list of things here, but I've been talking about this for too long. There's the unique style to the way it's photographed that is unlike what we usually see in science fiction films in general. It's interesting. I think it's worth watching, but I wouldn't pay money for it. Which is for me, disappointing because I was really excited for this film.
So you saw it in theaters then? Or
no, I rented it on Amazon. And I don't
okay.
regret renting it for $5 or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just was, there's definitely elements of it that I think are terrific. Like there's a few really great deaths in the movie and some really horrifying kind of space travel stuff. The concept of like moving towards a black hole and kind of what that is like mentally and like not knowing what's on the other side. And and that's a typical space trope, but I think it's handled very interestingly here. I don't know, that's not a word, but I don't know. It's kind of a mixed bag, but I think it's interesting. And I think if you're into like cerebral sci-fi, there's definitely stuff in here that I think people that are interested in that will like.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to. I saw the trailer and liked the trailer, so I definitely.
And that's the hardest thing on my list of things to talk about, I think, in terms of describing what it is and what it's about and why I like it or don't like it. And it's a weird film, and I'm glad that it exists, but I don't know how other people will feel about it.
Yeah.
So that's High Life. Next one on the list is a lot easier to describe, which is The Art of Self-Defense, which is the new
the trailer's funny,
Jesse Eisenberg movie. It's let me get my notes here. Directed by Riley Streams, who did Faults with the dad from The Guest, who I love. I forgot him, going blank on his name right now, but and it's starring Jesse Eisenberg, Imogen Poots, and then Alessandra Nivola, who is from Face Off. He plays Castor Troy's brother. He plays the sensei in this. Have you seen the trailer for this?
Yeah, it's funny.
So the trailer is very funny, and I think it's very accurately gives you a depiction of what you'll get from this movie, which is really dry, just strange, offbeat humor with very dark elements to it. Somebody described, I've heard it described as a lot of things, especially because I saw it, the premiere of it at Draft House. They did an advanced screening for Victory members. Yeah. And they did a live stream of like the red carpet thing at the beginning of it. And I don't know how I feel about watching that kind of stuff before seeing a movie, because you always have like, all I had seen is the trailer. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're listening to the director like hype his film up or talk about like what he loves about it. And you're like, I don't want to know about all that stuff. Yeah. And then, or you get like reporters telling you it's a really amazing film, like blah, blah, blah. And you're like, I don't need other opinions right before I watch the movie. He compared it to the Coen brother, not the director, but the reporter from Fandango or whatever, when we're watching, he's like, it's like really dark comedy, like the Coen brothers. Like if you like the Coen, and I'm like, I don't think it's anything like the Coen brothers. I mean, obviously it's a little offbeat, but it's not as it's just different. It's more like, I would compare it more to like a Yorgos movie. And the director himself had said that he'd been watching a lot of Yorgos films, which this very clearly feels inspired by. There's a lot of not monotone in the way that The Lobster is like very dryly monotone, but it is characters say what they're thinking like this, and then they say, and it's very like very. It's monotone is probably the best way to describe it, but it's not as dry as The Lobster. Yeah. But it's definitely unemotional and matter of fact in a way that a lot of Yorgos' films are. And so I would compare it to that. Like it's like Yorgos meets Fight Club is really what it is.
Interesting.
It's a movie about Jesse Eisenberg plays, I think Casey is his name. Casey. And Casey is like just afraid of everything. In the trailer, he describes I'm afraid of other men. I'm afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of, I want to be the thing that I'm afraid of, basically, is what he tells Sensei. Because he stumbles upon a karate class. I think the reason is he gets like brutally assaulted at the beginning of the film by a group of like helmet wearing motorcyclists. Yeah. They drive up and they ask him like, do you have a gun? And he says, what? And then he like goes to the store, and as he's coming home, they mug him, and they like basically beat the shit out of him and almost kill him. Yeah. And so he is then very traumatized by this, and he's off work for like, basically his boss is like, just take as much time as you want. It's no rush. And he basically has like 2 months off work, and so he walks by a karate class and joins it, and starts discovering that he feels more powerful, more confident, and all the things. But then this movie takes a turn, and the trailer kind of gives you a sense of the darkness of it. This movie takes a dark turn that reminds me a lot. Well, it's like Fight Club meets Office Space. Like when Office Space, when he wakes up and is just like totally I don't give a fuck anymore. This is kind of in that vein, but darker and more violent. And the movie, I think what I like about it the most is the script is very tight. It's obviously a comedy. It looks really funny if you watch the trailer, but I was surprised by how many like setups and payoffs and like how well written the overall story of this is. And I felt like the plot continuously progresses and it maintains interest, especially for a dry movie like this. Yeah. I found myself very entertained. I wanted to know where it went. I really liked it. I think the performances are really great. Sensei is very funny. He reminds me of like a high school football coach. He wears like sandals with like high top socks on, and he's just very like. It seems like a guy that isn't in control of anything else in his life, but in this one world that he's created for himself, he's like the master. He's the sensei. Everybody bows to him basically, and abides by all these 11 rules that they have written on the wall. And They originally had 10, and then they added an 11th one. And instead of making a whole new poster, they just added another little panel to it. It's very silly. But I really liked it. It's very understated. There's little score. It feels very quiet and dry, and in all the best ways, though. I don't know. It looks kind of like it has a very timeless feeling to it as well. It doesn't feel like it's in a particular era. I think characters do have like cell phones, I believe, but it looks like it's shot on film, even though shot on Vericam 35, which is digital. It just has kind of a noise to it that you don't traditionally have in digital photography. And I don't know. It's very unique, and I liked it more than I thought I would.
Thought you would, yeah.
It was much more than like the dry comedy that it was pitched as.
Have you ever seen the Fistfoot Way?
Yeah, with Kenny Powers.
Was it in that tone or that?
Similar, yeah. That's more of a slapstick comedy.
Whereas this one is more of a dark comedy. Okay,
definitely a dark comedy for sure, and it goes to places that I didn't expect. I really like it, and I think it's a film that a lot of people would enjoy. So, go see The Art of Self-Defense. So,
way.
And that's it for at least the films that I'm going to do by myself for now. We've got Spider-Man Far From Home next, which I saw last week sometime.
Yeah, we did too.
Go ahead and explain the plot, because you know superheroes more than I do.
So Far From Home is the final film in the Phase 3 of the Marvel Universe, Cinematic Universe. Whereas Peter Parker is done with the Infinity War and Endgame, and Tony Stark is dead and everything, and I guess it's just him, wanting to like not be a superhero. Just let me go out and be a kid. What do they call the blip?
The blip, which I
love.
Down,
the snap.
It's the silliest.
I know. I get mad that they don't call it the snap, but so it's been 5 years.
I think that's a joke. I know it's a joke. Yeah.
And so 90, I want to say 90% of his classmates were part of the snap, but except for a couple of them, which are now like adults at 21, but
they don't get their high school credit.
So they have to go back to school. And
there's some great humor in this.
It was.
I love the opening too, where it's the like class. It's an in memoriam for spoilers for Endgame. Iron Man died at the end of Endgame, guys.
Well, actually, the cool thing about the in memoriam, it gives you Cap, Iron Man, and Black Widow.
I know.
And everyone know, if you saw the end of Endgame, you know what happened to Cap. But so it shows the fallen heroes. But what I dug was, obviously it's a point of the film, Iron Man is somewhere everywhere in this friggin' film. Yeah. And it's like with either the kids' drawings of him or the cool graffiti.
He's never forgotten.
Yeah, he's never forgotten.
But I love that in memoriam because it has like shitty like iMovie font. And
because it's the classroom. Now everybody has
the
high school news reports that are actually shot every day. You can see on the big screen, on the TV
and
screen.
The two like newscast. It's one of the girls is the girl from The Nice Guys, who I just love.
Betty Brant, and that's a character in the comic. And then the other guy, the douchey guy, Jason or whatever his name is.
There's a lot of fun cameos in this too. It's anyway, back to the plot.
But anyway, so Spider-Man decides to go on his little science trip to Europe. They're studying whatever the hell. I forgot what they're studying. It's not even the point.
It's the dumbest thing ever. And it's like JB Smoove is their teacher, and then what's his name from
Martin Starr from Freaking Geeks is their main teacher. And while they're on their vacation, obviously Nick Fury needs Spider-Man's help because a new hero is on the scene from a multiverse called Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, Donnie Darko himself.
Very, very well. Like
he was good.
He was very good
I love Jake Gyllenhaal in this movie. And yeah, so anyway, they have this mission that they need Spider-Man's help in Europe. It starts off, I think, they're in Italy, and then it goes to Prague and so on and so forth. But so that's basically the premise. And Spider-Man is very reluctant because he just wants to be Peter Parker for a bit. You know, he lost someone he loved. He just went through the fight of his life, basically, and he just wants to be a kid. And, you know, the powers that be are like, no, you're a hero, and you need to realize that that's what you are, a hero. And your real self, which is actually your alter ego, is not important right now because shit is happening and you got to be there. And that's basically the premise of Spider-Man Far From Home.
He even says, like, I don't want to do hero stuff right now.
Yeah, I don't want to do heroes. I love that. And it's like a kid. I don't want to do hero stuff right now. I just want to be a teen.
And Tom Holland is just fantastic.
He's amazing. Listen, my nephew listens to the show, Steve, little Stevie. I'm sorry. Tom Holland is the ultimate Spider-Man. There is no other Spider-Man but Tom. I liked Andrew Garfield. I like Tobey Maguire, but the real Spider-Man is Tom Holland. The MCU Spider-Man is the best Spider-Man.
Also, yeah, these are the best movies, too. They're just really well written.
Yeah. Like Andrew Garfield he just seemed too old. He seemed like Andrew Garfield playing Spider-Man. And Tobey Maguire was too geeky, nerdy, and they ruined that third film. But so far, every Spider-Man appearance, Tom Holland has been amazing. He's been the perfect Peter Parker, perfect Spider-Man.
And he's like genuinely, like he has like moments that are genuinely moving in this. I was like, this guy, this kid's giving it everything he's got, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's just, it was a fun movie. I loved it. You need to stay all the way to the last drop. Remember, with all MCU movies, there's 2 end credit scenes, unlike Endgame.
I don't think I saw the second one.
Oh, you didn't see the second one? And that's the one everyone's talking about because that leads to their Phase 4, which I can get into after if you didn't see it or if you want to talk more about.
Well, let's just get into spoiler territory real quick. So, we won't talk about this for that long.
It's been out a week, and I'm pretty sure every kid in America has already seen Spider-Man. Come on, stuff.
Well, and it's not that big of a deal.
Not to us.
So I remember the first end credit sequence the one that I remember seeing is the one where Mysterio reveals Spider-Man to be
Peter Parker.
But yeah, he reveals his identity and then also basically sets up this whole plot in which Spider-Man was the thing that caused the drones. Mysterio is the one that brought those.
Yeah.
It basically paints Spider-Man as the bad guy in the news and all the media. And
J. Jonah Jameson is there to be his self from the other Spider-Man films.
Oh, yes, which is great. That was the other cameo. That was the cameo I was referring to, yeah.
And it's good because, like I said, and I know, Jeremy's not up on the comic books real quick. I'm a comic book nerd. Spider-Man's always been the foil of J. Jonah Jameson. He always pictures him as a bad guy. He's the villain. Spider-Man's a villain. So I thought it was really good that this is like perfect now.
That he's the one that introduced that.
And then on the higher level, and again, I'll get to that because in the end of the Civil War comic, which didn't happen in the movies, but I'm glad they did it. In the end of the Civil War comic, in the beginning, Tony Stark, who everyone knows Tony Stark as Iron Man, convinces Peter Parker or Spider-Man to reveal himself as Peter Parker, which caused a lot of mess for Spider-Man in the comic book. And I think this is perfect because they did it in this film where he's out, unfortunately, not on his own volition. And so now the world knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And it also raises the level because not only going to be about him being bad in the press and the media, it's like the cops are going to want him, the Interpol is going to want him.
This is fucking John Wick.
Yeah, exactly. So now, I don't know what the next movie's going to be on the run. So it's going to be like this really cool. And if they introduce the black suit Spider-Man without it being Venom, that would be awesome because that's what happens in the comic book. Being that he's on the run, he takes on the black suit Spider-Man and he's like, you can't really see him at night. Almost like the Night Monkey, which I love. That was a cute little joke. He's the Night Monkey.
Yeah, that was great.
And so now that was the first post-credit scene. So now we have this kind of danger for Spider-Man in any upcoming film that he's going to be on the run after he just found love with MJ, and blah blah blah. The last post-credit scene, and this is what you didn't see. So basically, you see that Nick Fury and Maria Hill weren't Nick Fury and Maria Hill. They were the Skrulls from Captain Marvel. So your boy Joe, what's his name? Ben. Yeah, so it's them, and they're doing the little scroll back and forth. And she's like, the girl's like, don't tell him. And he goes, I have to tell him. This is big news. So then you cut to Nick Fury on the beach. And here, another special nod for all you MCU nerds, even though as you see, if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., at the end of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. last season, Phil Coulson, Greg Clark goes into, he's going to die, and he's on this beach with Ming-Na Wen, who plays Agent May. So cut to, there's Nick Fury on the same beach, and they're like, oh man, we made a mess. It's a mess what we did, and you got to come back. And so
this is the Skrulls are talking to
the
Nick Fury?
Skrulls who
were pretending to be Nick Fury.
So the main Skrull, Nick Fury, and the female Skrull from Captain Marvel is Maria Hill. They reveal themselves as Skrull, and they're talking to Nick Fury, who's on this island. And all of a sudden, he's like, ugh. And then he gets out of his position. The island disappears. It's just a screen. And he goes, all right, guys, we got to go back. And he's getting up, and he's like, everyone to their thing. And you see it's the ship at the end of Captain Marvel. All the Skrulls are working on it. But it looks like S.H.I.E.L.D., And so here's the nod. Now, if you've seen him...
Damn, I missed a lot. Jesus Christ.
And that was the big reveal because that sets up Phase 4. And if you look at Kevin Feige's Phase 4, the only Avenger film on the docket is the last film for Phase 4, which is The Dark Avengers. And in order to get a Dark Avengers, you need the Secret Invasion. And if you read the comics, the Secret Invasion is we find out that many superheroes were actually Skrulls. And they invaded. Now, this is why a lot of people are pissed about Captain Marvel. And again, this is all for fanboys. They were mad that the Skrulls were good. And I said, well, recently in comic books, they revealed the Skrulls to be good. There's some good Skrulls, but the majority of Skrulls have always been bent on destroying Earth. And this leads to that because, like I said, I was telling my boy Blue, Colin, shout out. I was like, if Dark Avengers is the only Avengers film on the list and the only Spider-Man movie is the one before it. Ooh, I didn't mean to spit that. I'm saying that the Secret Invasion should be coming along the lines of these films. And all these films, which I hate, are very space operatic. They're all in space in the Marvel universe from the 70s where everything took place in the cosmos and all that shit. And I really didn't like it. But now that they did that, I think why they did that was to say, guys, listen, we got this. I know you guys think that these movies are kind of cheesy and lame and boring, but they're going to lead to the big only Avengers film on our docket, and that's The Dark Avengers. There's going to be a reason why. And it's funny because Jake Gyllenhaal says to Spider-Man, if you didn't stay for post credits, the ending before he dies, he goes, what is it? Because everything you see is not as it seems because the people want to believe what they want to believe, and that's why the big reveal is that fake thing that he says, we're being under attack by Spider-Man.
See, I just took that as like a thematic thing, which is just that, the movie is definitely talking about like the fact that like with the media and the things like that, like people just believe whatever that they read and see and all those things. Which that's what I interpreted that as.
And then you're fine. And that's what I thought until I saw the last scene. And then it goes to show that right now, currently in the MCU, and this could lead to Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, that they're Skrulls. A lot of people have been Skrulls, and that goes to show that this is leading to the big reveal for the only Avengers film on Phase 4. And again, if you're in the comics and you read the comics, it's cinematic with Secret Invasion, what happens in the Dark Reign, what happens in the Dark Avengers.
Is Secret Invasion like Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Well, no, what happened is, make a little real quick because I don't want to run over time. One of the heroes gets killed by another hero who was Ronin if you saw Hawkeye was Ronin in Endgame. And Ronin stabs Elektra, which we only saw in the TV Marvel Universe. And when he stabs her, and everyone's like, oh my God, what did you do? She collapses to the ground. She's a Skrull.
Okay.
And that begins this thing where they're like, oh, wait a minute. That means that any one of us could be a Skrull. And then you find out that heroes that even from back in the 70s that died, and you're like, oh my God. They bring up that all these people were, like a lot of heroes were Skrulls, and they were among us, and they were just using intel to also turn us against each other. And really and so I'm so happy that they did that because I'm like, holy shit, if the Dark Avengers is the only Avengers film on the list, that all begins with the Secret Invasion and everything. So it's really, really going to be exciting. So now for all the shit I talked about, the Elementals, which the Eternals, I still hate that. But it's good because now it's leading up to this big reveal with the Skrulls being on Earth all this time. And then they might even put that veneer that some might be nice guys, but the other ones aren't, and so all the fans who hated that they were good in Captain Marvel now will know that it's not only that, it's other. So that's the ending of Far From Home reveal.
The last thing I want to say about this movie is I think the best joke in the whole film is the fact that they keep using Grand Budapest to find Spider-Man's location throughout the movie.
Flash Thompson.
he's like
Flash Thompson's phone.
He's like live streaming the whole trip.
From on Snapchat, and that's how they've been fighting.
It's a great bit.
It is.
And then at the end where she's like, we wouldn't have found him if it weren't for you. And he's like, see, I saved Spider-Man.
I love
That's
Flash.
Great movie.
I like that you called him Grand Budapest.
Yeah, it's his name.
Flash Thompson. Yeah, it's a Grand Budapest. Anyway,
so that's Spider-Man Far From Home. I like it a lot. I think it's one of the better Superman.
Oh, yeah,
it's definitely one of the better Spider-Mans. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm Under the Silver Lake. Let's do it.
You want to do that one? Okay. All right.
So You've seen it more recently than I have, so go ahead and describe the plot for us.
I thought you saw it recently too. But anyway, I will say this, and I know he's going to yell at me when I say this. So if we were talking about Fight Club meets Brick, I saw this. I said, "Damn, this is
Mulholland Drive.
This is David Lynch directing Brick." That's what this was, and it was. Let me tell you something. That was an amazing film. I loved that. Oh, I loved it. You didn't like it?
Wait, Mulholland Drive or this?
Under the Silver Lake.
Oh, okay, interesting. So the way we talked about this briefly before the show started, and I think you said something like, I thought you hated it based on the other thing. Okay, interesting. See, I like it a lot.
I loved it.
I have a lot of questions. I'd like to see it again, but I like it a lot.
That's what I'll definitely be doing while Gloriana's away. I'll watch it. I
knew for a fact you would love the clear influence for it, which is definitely like Mulholland Drive, but also like even like not the Nice Guys isn't what it's paying homage to, but it's the Nice Guys is paying homage to what this film is also paying homage to. I feel like it's like these Hollywood conspiracy movies Mulholland Drive is the best example, obviously, but it's kind of a stoner comedy. It reminds me a lot of Inherent Vice at times as well. It's like a stoner that's like wrapped up in this whole conspiracy. The difference between this, and that's what I like, the difference between this and that is it's a detective story without a detective. Yeah. And it's like he's a bumbling idiot. Yeah, he's a bumbling idiot who falls throughout this whole mystery. Played by Andrew Garfield. Yeah, Andrew Garfield. Who's very, very good in this. Oh, yeah, he's amazing. I loved him in this. It's like, these are the movies I want to see him in. I don't want to see him as Spider-Man. I want to see him as doing this stoner bit. And it was amazing. I mean, like, the conspiracy was amazing. It was, like, really well done. Like, so I guess we should describe the plot, though, for
people. Okay, describe the plot.
We told you about the tone of it.
Describe the plot.
Well, essentially, he...
This young stoner dude who's
very, very kind of has, like, almost a child's perspective on women.
On
like
women and life and everything.
Yeah, he's just kind of he doesn't have a job. Like, he's just kind of a burnout. He smokes a lot of weed.
Yeah, he smokes weed, and he's about his eviction's coming soon. He hasn't paid his rent in a couple of months.
And he has no plan on how to fix that problem.
He doesn't have a job, but he has money. But I'm assuming that's his mom's money because he talks to his mom a lot. And he ends up digging some chick across the street who is played by Riley Keough, Elvis's granddaughter. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you know that?
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and she's hot. I love her in every movie. She was also in They Come at Night. It Comes at Night.
Yeah, I have that. And Hold the Dark. She plays the crazy, the mom. And then she's in Mad Max, apparently. I don't remember her in Mad Max.
She was a smaller role. She's one of the girls.
And in La La Land, I think, recently.
She's really good. And so basically, there's reminiscent of the films.
Never mind, that's a different person. Yeah. Callie Hernandez is the one that's in La La Land. Ignore me. Yeah,
continue. So anyway, he digs on this girl, and it seems like they're about to hit it off. And this is he's sleeping with one of his friends, and he looks at the old lady across the street who's always naked. But he digs on this one. They seem like there's about a romance to bloom. But
and she represents she very clearly represents like the Marilyn Monroe old school Hollywood.
And that's the other thing I want to bring up. I don't want to bring it up in the synopsis, but
that's a massive part of this.
I love the playing with time. But anyway, so some creepy pirate looking dude shows up and she like sends him on his way and says, we'll hook up tomorrow. And she disappears. And the house is cleaned out except for one little memento box that she had, which I thought was cool. The little Barbie dolls of the famous actresses, and Marilyn Monroe included. Yep. And so he goes on this thing where this quest to find this girl, and again he falls upon this giant conspiracy dealing with Hollywood and prostitutes and
stardom and the way that Hollywood like treats rich women.
People. And it's really cool. And in the middle of this mystery, because again the fanzine comics thing pops up. And that leads into the mystery as well.
Which is called Under the Silver Lake, right?
Yeah, the comic book is called the fanzine's called Under the Silver Lake, which is drawn by a local artist. And it's creepy, it's about a dog murderer, but it also has to do with the elite. And that's a cool thing, because he's also from Mulholland Drive, the actor. He plays the one who gets scared in the beginning when they go out of the diner and they go to the back. I forgot
he's in this. That's one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie.
Which doesn't tie into anything. It's like my favorite jump scare of a David Lynch film. Yeah. And he...
That deeply unsettled me, that particular scene. Yeah.
And so he tells him also about a conspiracy that's going on in L.A., and
I forgot that he's in this.
Yeah, see,
that's totally
he plays. I think that's my favorite character.
Casting, yeah.
And then this whole and then, which I thought of Batman, the owl, the what's called, it's a character called the Night Owl, the owl that comes to get you. And part of this little lore is really fucking creepy.
So that's the weird thing about this movie. It's like a stoner comedy meets a thriller, like conspiracy film meets a horror film at times. This is by David, what's his name?
Yeah, what is his name?
I have it written down here. David Robert Mitchell, who did It Follows, which I really liked.
Great film,
And that was his debut feature, and this is his second feature, which I think is another really interesting movie.
Amazing.
So there's, I mean, I think we need to get into spoilers at this point for this. If you haven't seen it, Amazon or A24 kind of shit it out on Amazon as well. This didn't get a theatrical run either.
No, it did for, like you said, 1 week or so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like barely.
It came out. I remember reading about it. I read about it, so I got to see this movie.
And people hate this film.
And then until you mentioned it, I was like, holy shit, I forgot that was even out in theaters. And then I looked and I was like, I'm going to see this one. And I wish Gloria would have watched it. I think she would have loved the whole, because it's got a whole bunch of Chinatown in there. Like Roman Polanski is very strong in that. With how the elite control, things that happen in the world, and his little speech about the 1%ers. I thought that was really good in the beginning before we even find out about what's going on.
Spoilers.
Again, we're going to spoil. It's on Amazon Prime.
It's on Amazon Prime. So if you have Prime, you can watch it for free.
If it was in the theaters, I'd be treading lightly. But no, you can watch it today if you want. Right now after this. But
and you should, regardless of whether or not you like it. I think it's an interesting.
Don't like this movie? Who don't like it?
So my favorite film critic, Mark Kermode, fucking hates this movie. He was like, I don't think I've ever seen him this so worked up about a movie. And the biggest thing that, and I've read a lot of reviews that critique it similarly. And he has a lot of other reasons for it that I don't think are completely unfair. But the main thing is just like the portrayal of woman in this film.
Interesting. Okay.
And I understand why on the surface, watching like a woman, just there's a motif in the film where like women start barking at Andrew Garfield, literally like dog noises come out when they talk, right?
There's a reason.
But it's, and the reason is like the film is making a point about how horribly just that Hollywood portrays women and like
Me Too and
exactly, all that stuff. And so it's like, I don't, is the problem though, and he also described like the nudity and stuff like that. But it's like, I think again, it's all like the weird part about it is it's a lot of it's from the main character's perspective. Which is usually the main character's like the Jason Bateman character in Arrested Development, the straight man, is that what it's called? Yeah. I'm going blank. Is that the right phrase?
Yeah,
I know that they say this straight man is a joke in Arrested Development when Tobias says
that's right.
He's the straight man.
But that's what you call the guy that is feeding. He's
supposed to be the audience's perspective, right?
Yeah.
And Andrew Garfield doesn't represent that in this film. He represents. I mean, he is at times. I think we're rooting for this character, but at the same time, he's kind of a piece of shit.
He's a fuck up. Yeah.
Very often is like looking at women in just a really perverted kind of way. But that's part,
like you said, is a childlike thing. Exactly. An age, and it's like I see, of course.
He reminds me a lot of the character from Burning, from the main character.
Oh yeah, and I called him an age too. You're
very
right.
similar. Yeah,
I'll give you that. Yeah,
but both these films though are talking very very much about sexuality and about like
look at the whole ending with the
juvenile
plot.
perspective.
That's. I don't know about your review there. How did he miss that? You know what I'm saying?
Mark Kermode's a great film critic, and again, he's very much more knowledgeable than the two of us combined on film. And the dude's like,
I'm gonna challenge his ass
right?
now.
No, he's a great. I love. I watched his review of Phantom Thread. Made me made me want to watch that movie again. He's just he's a great critic, but he don't think he liked it at all, but then like those kinds of elements just didn't put him over the edge. And he was like, we get what you're trying to do. I think he was just ahead of the movie. Like he was just annoyed with, he's like, very clearly, we get that you're trying to pay homage to Mulholland Drive. We get that this is what you're trying to say. And I'm tired of it. Like, I don't know. He just felt like it was so obvious to him,
I don't know about that.
Which is fine. But I also find it on a surface level really entertaining as a stoner comedy, thriller, horror film that it is. Like it's very stylish and very like, there's like these, I don't know, there's a scene where he's in the library and the camera like does the Evil Dead shot through the library.
That was amazing.
It's very frenetic and it's really well edited. And I like this visual style of it as well, which I'm not surprised by because It Follows is also very visually interesting. And
another I was going to bring that up before.
Oops.
You never get a fair sense of time.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that finally gives it away is that the newspaper says 2011.
Yeah.
But the phones are from 1953.
I love the news though when they're like reporting on the like murders and things. They're just like very descriptive. Like, it's like he had his throat slashed.
And it's like his phone is a flip. Like there's a flip phone, but his phone's a smaller phone, like an Obama phone. And it
definitely feels kind of timeless in the way that a lot of Hollywood films do.
Yeah, and
like movies about L.A. Like
exactly
L.A.
And like Riley Keough, like you said, a very Marilyn Monroe, very ingenue girl. And she came straight out of the. And granted, she was dressed like a little flower girl, and it had that '60s harkening back to.
Sunset Boulevard.
Sunset Boulevard, but yeah, with that you get a lot of that too. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like all of Robert Altman's Private Eye films, with The Long Goodbye, and those are based in the '70s, very noirish. Yeah. But it's like there's no sense of time. Like sometimes they're talking about things from the '50s, '60s, '70s, '80s, and I like that the film is almost so timeless. You can watch this at any point in time and say, oh, you know what? Like you get lost in the whole thing because I mean I take it more like Chinatown because of the fact of the big reveal with the elite.
It even kind of reminds me of like something like After Hours, like where there's a lot of like bizarre characters and like weird, and like it has like this strain, and that's another film that feels like it exists in a different dimension. Almost.
Yeah, because that could happen at any point in time. Yeah, because it's at night, and
obviously that's like a single evening type movie.
Thing. But this one takes place over 5 days.
Yeah, it kind of puts you under a spell. I feel like, I didn't like. Midway through, I was like, I kind of like this, but I don't understand it. And then I think when it ended, I had a lot of questions, but
I do too, because I started thinking that maybe a lot of this was going on in his head.
Sure.
And it was under, either on the weed or his paranoia.
I'm glad that it didn't go there, but it certainly could be interpreted that way.
Because the owl woman is the only thing that I don't understand, because she shows up, she hides when they knock at the door, and then you never see her again.
Sure.
And I thought the big reveal is that when he was watching them from across and they went in there and they were all like that she was going to pop up and kill both of them. I was like, oh shit, dude. But yeah, so that kind of became a thing. Even though he sees it on the camera in the artist's home, I when she pops up and then she gets away, whatever. I just started thinking, so was that in his head then, or did because he ended up finding got away and then found out the big thing, they didn't kill him because then he's like. And then I was like, is he going to live with this old lady now? Because that's going to be his bread and butter for the. But yeah, it did leave me with some questions, but
it's very strange, and there's a lot of information in that film, and I don't know that I don't know that it's very dense, and in those same we're talking about Inherent Vice. I feel like Inherent Vice is very similar in that it's like this really twisty, almost silly, ridiculous plot, and the movie is very aware of that. Like I think it's and it's at times confusing, but I do think it's really funny, and I think it's really strange, and it's visually interesting, and it has some interesting things to say about Hollywood. Whether or not they're obvious thematic elements, that's another debate. I think it's an interesting film, and I don't know that everybody will like it. It's a very divisive movie, and I think it will be. But it's a really interesting second film, and I'm amazed that this was actually made. Like I don't know, it blows my mind. I know It Follows was a huge
because
hit.
It Follows is an amazing big film, man.
But it's just, and it's again, I think it's got a really good script. It may be. Like my only complaint would be that it's trying to do too much. That'd be my only thing. Like it's a 2.5 hour movie almost. It's pretty long, and it could be trimmed down like 15 minutes or so, I think. But I do enjoy what's there, and I think it's really interesting. So I'm glad you liked it, because I thought.
I loved it.
I didn't love it, but I was like, I'm on the fence, and I think I could be convinced. And
watch it again. How about that?
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in watching it again.
I loved watching it the first time. But
I had a good time though, regardless of whether or not.
It's fun. It is fun, no doubt.
But yeah. That brings us to Midsommar, which
talk about Midsommar, bro.
So Midsommar is the second, or we're also talking about second film, sophomore efforts from Ari Aster, who did both of our favorite films last year, which is Hereditary. Was that last year?
Yeah, last year, 2000.
Fucking amazing movie, especially for a debut feature. Yeah, just the visual style on display was just something to behold, and just even like that movie was so much more than a horror film, in my opinion. It's a movie about grief and about suffering and mental health and all these things, and I just think it was such an overwhelming experience, and I feel the same way about Midsommar, which is great. I was very excited for this, obviously, especially because it was the follow-up to Hereditary, it's about a character named Danny, played by Florence Pugh from Fighting the Family, which I haven't seen yet, but I hear she's great in. She's amazing in this. She, in the opening of the film, suffers a pretty horrific family tragedy. I can't really go into much more detail because I don't want to spoil what happens. But it essentially her boyfriend, her kind of a doofus boyfriend, Christian is his name, played by Jack Rayner, who's in Free Fire and Macbeth. He's the guy that's like, I like your cardboard armor in Free Fire. But he plays Christian, who is just kind of he's not really an asshole boyfriend, but he's just kind of a not great boyfriend, and his friends all think that he should break up with Danny, but he's very sensitive to everything that's happening with her, and doesn't want to he feels like he wants to care for her, but he's also clearly moving away in a different direction, and she notices that. And this film is very much a movie about a couple, about a relationship falling apart.
It's a breakup film. That's what they said above everything else.
Very much so. And essentially, all of Christian's friends invite him and Danny along with them to Sweden for a month-long celebration that occurs every 90 years. In this, one of them, his name is Wilhelm Blomgren. He plays Pelle, I think is how you pronounce his name. He's the Swedish friend of theirs that's in that friend circle that went to school with them, and his family is the one his community is what they're putting on the event in Sweden. And they do every Midsommar every year they do what they call the May Queen Festival, which is this dance that they do. It's it's a competition is the way they describe it. And that happens every year, but certain events only happen every 90 years. I don't know why, and that's some of the stuff that I've seen this 3 times, but there's some details I'm not 100% sure on. But anyway, so it's a once in a lifetime event, and so they go to Sweden. It's a very idealistic kind of town or community. They're in the middle of the woods. They all wear white, and they dance, and they wear flowers, and they they look very happy and very friendly. And the interesting thing about the film is that doesn't necessarily change, but there's definitely something that something sinister underneath it all. Obviously, if you've seen the trailer, you know that this doesn't end happily. Well, actually, I don't know that that's necessarily true, but it doesn't end without some violence. Let's just say that. And it's definitely paying homage to things like Texas Chainsaw or Wicker Man, but also Texas Chainsaw, and there's a blanket which has the Shining reference to The Shining on it. There's definitely he's paying homage to many different films, but it has the visual style of a fairy tale, he describes it as an adult fairy tale, and the film maintains that tone. It's done mostly in daylight, which is really interesting, and it's a very unique experience because of that, specifically because in a traditional horror film, the films tend to get darker as the movie goes on, and the natural progression of the film, we're just so trained with that traditional visual structure. It's something that you probably couldn't point out in a movie, but it's something we instinctually understand. And this is opposite of that. It doesn't ever it doesn't become darker, even with the horrifying things that start happening. The actual visual style of the film still maintains that floaty kind of, and I think it ties in with everything that the actual point of the whole film as well, in a way that's really unique. The opening is incredible. I think Florence Pugh is just outstanding, really outstanding. She plays this as she plays it from, she clearly has some post-traumatic stress from the event that happened, and is trying to feel held again, and isn't finding that in Christian. She doesn't feel comforted. She doesn't feel at home. She feels out of place. And she plays that really well. Especially the PTSD stuff, the certain words will trigger kind of her anxiety, and that, I just think her performance is just fantastic. She also has kind of especially towards the end of the film, kind of a child's-like, talking about, child's-like perspective towards women, a child's-like perspective towards all these events that happened to her, especially because of the trauma. She plays it, I'm not going to describe what happens at the end, obviously, for spoiler's sake, because you haven't seen the film, but there's the final shot of it she describes as a child. I can't describe what she's looking at, but she plays it even the facial expressions are very childlike in a way. Like she has like a pouty face that she does throughout the film. That's it's almost silly at times. There's a scene where they feed her like a raw herring, and she like does like this like kind of like grimace that looks like a 3-year-old kid who just ate something he doesn't enjoy. And that's just really strange. There's certain reviewers like Chris Stuckman on YouTube who he's a Rotten Tomatoes critic, but he's been a YouTuber for a long time. And I watched his review about it. I've watched him for a long time, and he said that like the film abandons the concept of the PTSD stuff I'm talking about and all the core element of wanting to feel a sense of belonging and being held and all those things. He says that the movie abandons that theme, and I completely disagree in every sense of the word. I think the movie reiterates that just in different ways as the movie goes on, in ways that also tie into the events that are happening in the arc of that character. And I think this movie's fucking amazing in what it's trying to accomplish and what it does from a thematic element, but also just from a raw horror, cinematic experience. Obviously, like you said earlier, this is a film about a breakup, and it's even visually represented through, like, as the movie goes on, these characters are physically in the frame, separated further and further away from one another as the movie progresses, which is an interesting choice. The visual style is so overwhelming at times, and it's so impressive. A lot of the scenes are done in single takes, but they're not showy. Like in fact, like most scenes start out with like static shots, and then they'll like track with characters as action progresses. And so that when they do the May Queen dance, that competition I was talking about, they all dance around this big arch, which is very clearly an homage to Wicker Man. And the camera like starts with a locked off shot of Danny, and then as she like gets pulled into this dance, the camera floats around her, and it does all these just really fucking impressive camera technique, and even just the focus pulling is impressive. There's so many. I have a list of like examples of the types of things that like this just from a camera perspective. It's shot by I'm trying to pronounce his name, Powell Pagarzewski. He did Hereditary as well. And which is another beautiful film, but this is visually totally different than that. That's a movie that has a lot of impressive technique at work, at play, but this is another film that like the visual enhances the experience in a way that's hard to describe without going into specifics on like what they're doing technically. Because I've seen this movie 3 times, and the third time through, I was watching like the way that they move the camera enhances the story both thematically and just it makes everything that you're watching more visually interesting as well. I don't know, like just little things like the camera dolling back to reveal a 2-shot of a character that walks into frame, or great like matte shot editing, like cutting between 2 different locations, but using cinematography and framing and composition to match between the 2 shots and cutting back and forth. Using like there's a great scene where it's in the trailer. She kind of has a panic attack, and she runs into a bathroom. And as she closes the door behind her, the camera is overhead as she moves into the bathroom. And then as she closes the door, it pivots on axis, and we flip, and she's all of a sudden in an airplane bathroom, which is just a brilliant editing choice. But also, that was written. That wasn't something that they just were like, hey, what if we did this? It's so creative, and it advances us to the next section of the movie in just a brilliant way, because she's crying as she enters the bathroom, and then it pivots, and she's also crying in the airplane. And it shows us kind of what that kind of something, that if something horrible happens to somebody, what the consequences of that, and how that can impact day-to-day life. And that's interesting. There's a scene where, and this is just a description, I wrote down a description of a particular scene. It's not even, the camera work here doesn't even, until the end of the scene, doesn't even progress anything, but it's so damn impressive. So it's like a shot of, they have like a barn area where they do all their cooking, and there's a bunch of the community's women in the barn. There's like a big open door, like a traditional bar would be. And Danny walks into frame from the left-hand side of the screen. The camera, it's a static shot. Camera like racks focus with her. She moves to the right third of the frame. She actually moves past it, and the camera rack focuses to one of the community's women as she like says, "Hey, Danny, you should come join us." and then it racks back to Danny, who moves back into the bottom right-hand third of the frame. Then the camera pushes in with Danny as she moves into the kitchen, and they like put a apron on her. And then there's another character that we know, that we recognize. It's part of the plot. This is the plot part of this that I'm talking about. She moves into frame with this pie, and the camera then racks focus to the pie and moves with her through the room, and they set the pie down on a table, and it's very, very clear that there's something wrong with it, right?
Yeah.
And it's just this brilliant sequence of cinematography that you don't even need to do that. It's not necessary, but this movie, like, I feel like just every scene they go the extra mile to make this unique, and that's just one example of many of things like that. I don't know. Even the score, the score is at times, I feel like they use, and I'm not a musician. A lot of my friends are, and I know a little bit about this. I don't know if I'm using the right terminology, but they use there's a great use of dissonance, which is essentially the combination of two chords that aren't meant to go together that create a unique sound. And in this film, they use that the score at times has both a like foreboding tone, but also an uplifting, happy, idyllic, just idealistic kind of tone to it. And so it's like horrifying, but also uplifting and happy and wonderful and fantastical all at the same time. And it's just this, and the tone will shift into one or the other at certain points. So as a character is viewing something horrific, it will shift down towards, more, I think it's, minor and major chords, I think is the way my brother described it. Again, I don't know all the music terminology, but and then it will shift back to being happy as the character. Like it just is. It's so brilliant in what it's doing, and I don't know. It's not a horror film in like the traditional sense, but the kind of ceremonial, ritualistic aspects of it are some of the things that are the most horrifying elements about it. Even though they're not necessarily traditional horror in the way that like Hereditary is like very much a supernatural horror film. It's just, I don't know, man. It's like a really brilliantly choreographed musical or a really well-written joke. Like it's so precise and deliberate, and the craft on display is something that we're just lucky to be witnessing. So that's Midsommar. It's my favorite film of the year. I love it.
So far, yeah. All right.
I'd be shocked if I see a film that I like more this year.
Well, we'll see.
But I've said that before.
I know. You say that sometimes.
I don't know, man. This is really fucking good.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Hereditary was your favorite last year, so I'm pretty sure Midsommar will stay that way.
And I do think if you see it and you're on the fence about it, watch it again. I think the second time through it locks in, and I just think it's just amazing. And the cast is really great. It's just and a really impressive feature, a second follow-up feature from Ari Aster. I can't wait to see what else he does next. Yeah. Apparently he's going to move into something totally different after this. So I'm excited to see what he does with like comedy and things like that. So
that'd be interesting.
But yeah, anyway, that's Midsommar. Yeah. Go see it. Definitely. Please go see it.
Yeah, I'm going to see it.
So you did, so we'll move from Midsommar to Murder Mystery.
So you didn't see it, the Netflix?
I have no interest.
Adam Sandler's Netflix original.
But I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on it.
And it's interesting because I know we've talked about Adam Sandler and his Netflix deal. And, with The Worst being like the Ridiculous Six, which is this, Western comedy, to this one, which I'll be honest, I've seen most of them. I think I've seen almost all of them. And this one is actually not bad. I mean, again, it's another reason we were talking about it because his whole family's in this movie. And I said, I'm pretty sure part of his deal was like, you know what, we're also going to do a movie where we go, to Europe, and you're going to pay for everybody to go to Europe. And it was fun. It was just real quick. It's like Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express. But it's done, it's small, everything's tight. Make a long story short, he's a cop. Who
Adam Sandler is a cop?
Yes, believe it or not. Yes, I know. But there's a reason why. That's what I said. I was like, he had the accent, he did everything. But you find out that he's just a beat cop who's been lying to his wife that he's a detective only because he's been passed over for the promotion, but he didn't want to let her down. Of
course.
She's, Jennifer Aniston, is a hairdresser, again, out of character, who, she just wants her husband to, give her this, once a happy life, go to Europe. He's always been promising her. There are things, their 20th anniversary or 30th anniversary being married. and that's the plot. And of course, he has like cheapy, bus tour, but on the plane, she, being nosy because he's sleeping, she meets up with what's the guy, Gaston from Beauty and the Beast,
I don't know,
the actor. Anyway,
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, you know
he's
what I'm talking about.
He's good as
name.
Gaston.
Yeah, so he ends up, he's a hoity-toity, he's rich, and he said he's going to spend a weekend on a boat with his rich uncle who stole his girlfriend or his actually fiance, and now he's going to marry her. And they go to, when they get off the plane, Adam Sandler's like, yeah, no, we don't need your charity. But they see the bus and they see how shitty it is. And he goes, yeah, no, we'll do it. So they get on this boat, and there's a bunch of, I'm trying to think of all the actors, but the rich uncle, oh my God, who's the rich uncle? Oh my God, but there's a lot of big cast. Oh my God, let me just look it up because I know I'm being lazy. But here, real quick, it's fun. It's a fun little movie. It's better than most of his other movies.
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. Watch it.
Would you have gone to the theater to see this?
Never.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever paid for another Adam Sandler movie ever again.
Fair enough.
Because they're all free now. But
yeah,
but
that's
here,
also true.
so Luke Evans, Terrence Stamp plays the rich uncle.
Who's Terrence Stamp?
He's Chancellor Valorum from Star Wars. He's the original from Superman 2. He plays what's his name? Oh my God, I'm forgetting.
I think I know. I'm picturing
Gemma Arterton is the actress. Let's see who else is in there. Danny Boom. He's the Irish actor. He's funny. Adele Akhtar. He's funny. So there's a few. And then
did you laugh more than 5 times?
Eric Griffin, funny. Did I laugh more than 5 times? I want to say maybe 5 times.
Damn,
I laughed.
that's not good.
But it's okay for a free movie on Netflix. Adam Sandler's like perfect for the role, because he's a schlub. Jennifer Aniston always is just slumming because she's not really. I always see Jennifer Aniston as a hoity-toity. But it's fun. It's a fun watch. It's family
I've seen
friendly.
the trailer for this. I forgot that I'd seen the trailer. I don't buy that he's a detective. I don't buy that he's a cop. I don't buy that they're together.
Yeah, but a beat cop.
I don't buy. I know, but still.
Yes, I know.
I just don't buy any of it.
Well, I didn't believe their relationship in the first, which is I forgot the first movie that they were together, and I didn't like that movie. But this one I did like because they do have some type of chemistry, not Drew Barrymore chemistry, but it's a cute little chemistry. But it's free. I liked it. It's a family-friendly movie too. There's a lot of fart jokes, stuff like that the kids would enjoy.
The pinnacle of comedy.
Yeah, for Adam Sandler. So that was Murder Mystery, and then we could.
If Beale Street could talk, what'd you think? I've seen it. The premise of it. We've reviewed it on the show.
You reviewed it on the show. You liked it. Very frustrating movie.
Follow up to Barry. It's Barry Jenkins, right?
Barry Jenkins, yeah, Moonlight. I liked it. It's just a frustrating film. This is based
politically,
and it's just rough. Watching this film, it's very depressing.
Premise is an innocent black man living in New York City gets accused of rape.
Is accused of rape by a Spanish woman, Puerto Rican, and
is in jail.
Is in jail,
has been in jail for a long time.
That there's a lot of shit behind it because the cop that he pissed off a couple of weeks before is one that made her finger him, and there's a lot of really fucked up things surrounding what happened. But I actually had hope, and there is no hope in this film. It's like they made the girl. What's the girlfriend, the fiance, a wife's name? And she was really good in it.
The lead,
the lead actress, because she held it. She held down the whole film. But
it's also like a beautiful, tragic love story as well. It reminds me a lot of Blue Valentine, which I think I may have.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah, Kiki Lane is Tish Rivers.
It's a film showing because essentially we know that he's in jail from the opening because that's kind of where the movie starts. But then we flash back to when they first met and how they fell in love.
And it was really sweet.
Those sequences are just beautiful.
Amazing, yeah,
really well. Barry Jenkins is such a visual. I mean, just craft master. I mean, the dude's like, he really knows how to produce a movie and tonally and visually. And I love all that stuff. I really, but then then the context of it though is that it's happening amongst with the knowledge that it doesn't really end in a way that is indicative of them being together.
And I hate it. I think that's why, because I wanted a happier ending.
The characters come to peace with what's happening.
Exactly, and that's worse too. But
that's what's sad about it.
Yeah, I hate when people settle. And in this
I think I like it more than Moonlight, even though I do like Moonlight a lot.
I like Moonlight, but I agree with you. I do like this one more because of the story, and I'm not saying that it's not about homophobia or anything, because there was a love story in there too. But I think this one's just more traditional. I like the
structure of it more.
Yeah, and then more also like a procedural. There's the lawyer, and And then there's, like I said, there's this thing where I was hoping that there was a happy ending, and it wasn't.
Regina King is really great.
Regina King was good. I mean,
she won for that.
She won the best supporting actress. Now, again, I got to look at the list of who was nominated. She was really good, but she disappears toward the end of the film too.
Yeah, and she's not in it very long.
Yeah, and the highlight, besides the opening scene where she tells off the guy's mother,
which is great.
Which
That's
is an
a great
amazing scene.
Yeah.
And then the scene in Puerto Rico, which I kind of hated when she finds the woman who, it's frustrating. Other than that, she doesn't have a lot of meaty acting. So I'm assuming this was one of those awards that were like, you deserve it, you'll get it. But yeah, I liked it, and you know, I do recommend it. I thought it was really good. Yeah.
It's weird that like it didn't get any award. I mean, this is a better film than fucking Green Book. Jesus Christ, the Oscars are just so
it's all a political thing. Yeah, I'm sick of Oscars. I've been sick for 20 years, but
anyway, Goosebumps 2.
Goosebumps 2.
The only thing I want to know about this movie is this is Eli Roth. It's the only reason it's on this list, right? Isn't this Eli?
Goosebumps 2?
I thought he was the one that directed it. The House of the... No, I'm
That's
is
the
it different?
House with a clock in its walls was Eli Roth.
Is it a different thing?
It's a different thing.
Right,
That's why I said it.
We're going to get rid of it then.
Listen, I want to tell you real quick. When Jeremy adds my movies onto the list, I know it's got to be an important film that he adds it. He's like, yeah, no, not this one, not this one, not this one. But then he Goosebumps 2, and I'm sitting there looking at it.
They both star Jack Black, don't they?
Yeah, Jack Black. That's why you thought that. And then I was like, why are we going to talk about Goosebumps 2? I mean, it was cute and all, but he just erased it. So we're going to move on to the movie or something that he spoke about last week that me and Gloriana saw, and Gloriana was enthralled, and I loved it because if she would have only sat through Under the Silver Lake, she would have enjoyed that too. So we saw Anima, which is the latest from Tom York. Tom York and Paul Thomas Anderson. And he saw it last week or the last show, and then I
rambled about it for a while.
You did, but you're not wrong. Visually amazing. Oh my God,
just
it's
incredible.
Like, it's the colors, the choreography. You're right. It's like throughout the whole thing.
It's mesmerizing.
When you talked about it, I thought maybe some scenes, but the whole film is choreographed. And Tom York just threw me away because he
looks like a homeless person.
He does, and his eye thing is so prevalent now. And the girl that they chose is at least 20 years younger than him. But it was still amazingly visually stunning. Paul Thomas Anderson, of course, I still love him, even though I wasn't happy with a lot of his recent films. But I mean, he was amazing.
He's just wrong, though. That's why. Yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson's, he's doing okay.
I just said he's amazing. He's a good good director. But yeah, it was really visually done. And it's weird because, I mean, he's directed a lot of videos, Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah, he did all
on a
Radiohead
smaller scale. This is like a video album, as they used to call them in the late 80s. And it's really good. I would like to see more, not only from him, but for other directors. I know David Lynch also did it with Duran Duran, and I like those too. But I
just love that they have a platform for it now, or if this is something Netflix is interested in continuing, I think
because it was really good, and it flowed perfectly.
It has a nice little kind of
the
romance.
Lighting was amazing. Yeah, the romantic sort was there.
The song Dawn Chorus, which is the final one, where they're like spinning to the train.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they get on the train, and they're doing all the interesting visual like hand movements and stuff. I love that song's like, it's a great album also. I've had a chance since we did our last show. I've listened to that album probably 10 or 15 times now.
Oh, okay.
I'm a huge fan of Radiohead. I've started really enjoying Tom York's solo stuff as well, and I really like Anima just as an album as well. So if you like, if you're interested, it's kind of electronic psychedelic music,
definitely.
And it's really interesting, and Anima's it's also kind of poppy and fun at times too.
Yeah.
I love the sequence though, which I went into great detail describing the mountain climbing on the white platform is just fucking awesome. I just
and like I started out saying, a 15-year-old girl who's more into poppy mainstream shitty music. She was enthralled, and it's funny because I should have asked her what you think about the music, because I think she saw it as just part of this film.
It's an experience.
But I mean, I don't think she would ever listen to Tom York or anything like that outside of it, even though she loves "Creep." That's one of her favorite songs.
Oh God, it's not even Radiohead either. It's just like it's a song they don't even like.
But it's funny because it's like. She was like, I was happy that she liked it because, like I said, at her age, I was into film heavily. And I was not the kid who says, oh, did you see that new movie? It was funny. And I was like, oh, but did you see the camera angles? Did you see that? That was me. And the fact that she actually dug this because of that, that made me happy, it just made the experience even better for me. So yeah, Anima, check it out, free, Netflix.
I also love that sequence. Sorry, I could talk about Anima all day. I fucking love this thing. I love that sequence where it's the opening of Dawn Chorus, which is the last song in it, where they're like flipping back and forth along that wall.
Yeah.
And then it opens up into this, it cuts to that over the head shot of people like flipping their heads around. Mm-hmm. And then it cuts to a shot of like him and her like running through the streets of Prague at like dusk. And it's just stunning. I mean, it's just beautiful. Like, and then they run into that like that fog that's encompassing it's just it's like so beautiful. It's amazing. Paul Thomas Anderson knows how to nail a tone.
Oh yeah,
that's something that I think he just really succeeds at, and this has a really magical quality to it. That is, I've seen Anima probably 10 or 15 times as well since the last. I've shown it to like every person. And I was like, "Have you seen Anima? We're watching it right now. It's only 15 minutes. I don't fucking care what you're doing. We're stopping and we're doing this." I also saw There Will Be Blood on the big screen. Which
you said
I'm not going to review.
Chicago.
In fact, I'm going to take it off the list because it's not really a movie that I want to talk about necessarily. But just the visual experience of that on the big screen was something.
He loves it. He loves
amazing.
He loves it.
Anyway,
I like that.
Devil's Candy. Which have you not seen?
I had not seen, and again, my daughter Gloriana, we watch horror films together, and she's the one who picked this early on because on Netflix the clickbait, the little thumbnails, and most recently they have that psychedelic cool Shout Factory type painted cover where and I really liked it. But she, right before our last show, she was like, "You know what? You can see that on your own." I said, "You sure?" She goes, "Yeah, I'm not into heavy metal music." But so I was like, "All right." And I watched it. It was really good. I really liked it. Yeah. And it was like, I told her.
Sean Byrne, who you've seen The Loved Ones, right?
Yeah. And I told her, I said, you should watch because you like The Loved Ones. She loved it. She goes, so hopefully I get her before the end of the summer because she's with me the whole month. I'm going to make her see it. But I really, really like Devil's Candy a lot. It's like, what's his name? Oh my
Ethan
God.
Embry.
Ethan Embry. Oh my God! Like he's like this little chameleon because I've known him since he was a kid.
Great.
Yeah, I watched him grow up on film, and I got all cock diesel, got the long hair. I told her, I said it's a father-daughter relationship because they're really close, and their connection is their music. And granted, she's not into heavy metal, and neither am I. I mean, I used to listen to heavy metal when I was a teen, but it was like that cool, cute little connection, and and then it's like. What's the old guy's name with the eye? Hey, the bad guy, the villain.
Oh yeah,
right there.
Pruitt Taylor Vince.
Pruitt Taylor Vince.
I don't know this guy.
Yeah, I've been following him too. He's been in a lot of film.
Constantine.
So that early stuff like Mississippi Burning and stuff like that. But yeah, so he plays this. I want to say serial killer, I guess you could say.
Well, he's a very troubled man that feels haunted. Well, he's clearly haunted by voices that the devil is speaking to him. And he plays heavy metal music to drown it out, which is a great premise. And that's how the movie opens, is him waking up in the middle of the night and like strumming his guitar.
Really loud, that's a cool opening.
It's fucking awesome. And then I think he murders one of his parents in the house that Ethan Embry ends up
purchasing. And then the dad comes home, and obviously he must murder the father too. But yeah, so they get there, and then Ethan Embry's an artist, and he's like he's doing
these really fucking dark paintings.
Yeah, he's doing something for like a bank, which is kind of cheesy. But then after hearing the voices, he starts drawing this like really prophetic artwork of children in some type of harm's way, and we find out that what he's doing is he's seeing, because of the connection, what the troubled Pruitt Taylor Vince has been doing to children in the neighborhood. And it's just really good.
It's really fucked up and really intense.
Yeah, it is. It's intense. And then, the daughter, and of course, obviously, like he tries to help the daughter, but then obviously when they try to push him away, the daughter is one of the ones that he's spoken. And the only thing I didn't like was that at the end of the film, finally this art dealer who shows up, and if you look at his name,
I love that.
Yeah, but you never get the sense that if they had anything to do with it.
I think he's Satan.
You think he was Satan himself, right? Okay, that's what I thought.
Dressed in the
it's harkening back to,
and he's trying to pull him away from his daughter, so that the old man, or that so that what's his name, the main bad guy, Pruitt Taylor Vince can destroy or kill her,
kill her and stuff. And
that scene where there's a scene where he crawls in her bed, that is just fucking horrifying. Like that's horrifying. horrifying.
Yeah, when he crawls next to her. Yeah, that is scary because that's what I said. I was like, oh my God, I would hate seeing this film.
There's some stuff in this movie, or when she's in a restroom. I think the most horrifying moment for me is when with involving the police officers and the car, like that shit.
God, the car, right?
It's all off screen, and that is horrifying. Like, and it just makes you feel helpless in a way that most movies don't.
And as a parent, you do that because that's another thing. It's like Ethan Hawke goes down all the time. It's like you'd think that he's a cock diesel and this guy's a fat slob, that he could actually either put up a fight, and every time he gets his ass kicked real quick. And so as a father, you're like, oh my God, you're freaking out. You're like, oh my God, wake up, get up. But
I saw this in the theater at Draft House, and it was fucking intense. It's very.
And then he shoots the mom. Like, you forget who's the mom. The mom is another.
Her name is Sherry Appleby.
Sherry Appleby from Popular, yeah. And so when he shoots the mom, you're like, oh my God, it's like that's horrific because it's like, well, he actually shoots the dad.
Well, there's like the stakes feel real, and it's like an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's really quick,
and it's a really polished, solid, effective thriller, and I just think it's outstanding.
I like the line, and the good follow up to the Loved One. Yeah,
absolutely.
The Loved One is an amazing film.
Yeah, I love The Devil's Candy is great, and I think it's on Netflix right now.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
It's been on there for a while.
Yeah, so I finally saw it after like 2 years on Netflix.
Yeah. I don't have anything to say about Simon Says.
I was going to say, why would you pick Simon Says?
We watched that as a joke, and it's certainly entertaining because Dennis Rodman is horrible in it, and Dane Cook is so fucking unbelievably terrible in it.
I don't know what's wrong with him, man. Well, their careers are both over, but I mean, Dane Cook, at least he was relevant 10 years ago.
He in every scene, he makes animal noises of some form, like whether it's a dinosaur or like a gorilla. I don't know who let him do that movie. It's just, oh man.
He probably needed the cast, quick cast.
We turned it off because it's unbearable. Like he's so annoying in it.
It's horrible. I thought that was when you had it there. I thought it was Love, Simon. I was like, oh, so I haven't seen it. Gloria is going to try and get me to see
Simon
it.
is a good movie.
Yeah, but then it's like Simon Says. I said, wait, is that the action movie?
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the TV section then, because we cut the Simon Says, which is very important, but you'll be okay.
We got audience, you'll be all right.
We've got a few TV shows, two that I've seen, one that Carlos has watched, which you've probably heard of. The first one though is I Think You Should Leave, which is Tim Robinson's sketch show that's on Netflix. Have you seen it yet?
I have it in my queue, and the other day we almost watched it because I said, guys, look, it had the little. Well, before they switched the thumbnail, it had that little like puppet, and they were all ready to watch it. And then I said, you know what, forget it, because this might be a little bit too much for them. And then we saw something else. But now they changed the thumbnail to the other guy, the creepy guy, Michael Brown with the baby O'Brien. So
Tim Robinson is so goddamn funny in this. So I've never really been a huge fan of sketch comedy. Now, I've been around comedy a lot more in the past few years. I've kind of broadened I'm less of a snob about comedy. I think lately I enjoy sillier things, and I think like Eric Andre was something I never like absurdist humor and things like that I never really appreciated until pretty recently. And so this might be the first sketch comedy show that I've really enjoyed. And I've seen this like 7 times. I've watched. It's only 7 episodes. They're all 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's 15 minutes. 7.
Every episode's 15 minutes. It's really short. You can literally watch it in like 2 hours.
2 hours, and I'll definitely check it out.
And there's a few sketches that aren't as good as others, but I think overall, like every episode has 2 or 3 sketches that are laugh out loud funny in my opinion. I mean, there's just him doing like a sleazy lawyer commercial, and just like there's so many great characters and great like quotable lines in it. I think it's so strange and offbeat, and just kind of they go for like really specific tones at times that are so strange and so absurd that it really works for me. I don't know. Like there's a character played by Connor O'Malley who's like a Viner. That he's just fucking insane. There's a sketch where Tim Robinson has a sign on the back of it, or a bumper sticker that says "honk if you're horny," and then Connor O'Malley just goes. He's just like honking his horn and following him all around town, honking constantly. And it's just a commitment to complete absurdity in a way that just totally works. I really love it. I want more people to see it. Even if you don't like sketch comedy, I think. Well,
I've been a fan of sketch comedy since I can go back to Laughing, but and it's changed. I like it because, like you mentioned, Eric Andre. I mean, the Eric Andre show. I mean, it's really changed the game where now the surrealistic pieces, come in, from regular regular sketch comedy, Saturday Night Live is supposed to be the epitome of sketch comedy. You have a premise, somebody walks in, you do the joke, but now like sketch comedy has gotten surreal and absurd, like you said, like Eric Andre.
This is more like the SNL originals where they do like the shorts and stuff like that. Like this is more produced than a sketch comedy. Okay, like it's very, very much like story driven and like what it does, I don't know, there's a great sketch. Jesus Christ. Sorry, we're running out of stuff here. There's a great sketch where it opens with like one of those cheesy high school dramas, like, and it's like what do you think she did? And it's it's really serious, and then it like they're walking down the hall at the high school, and they get interrupted by Tim Robinson, who then just spends almost like 45, like a full 2 minutes trying to pitch them on his new product, and they're like TC Tuggers, which is like this. It's a T-shirt which has it's basically like a pop socket on it, and so for like, I mean, you're a larger dude, like myself. It's for when you like pull your shirt away from your stomach because it's like catching. And it, that's the product, and it's the silly. So he's just like, he interrupts this like really serious conversation to be like, so you guys, what you should be wearing nowadays is like we got these new shirts. They're called TC Tuggers, and it's just like complete. It's like an advertisement, but there's no music behind it or anything. It's super uncomfortable and awkward. It's also funny because those kinds of shows get interrupted by shitty ads all the time, and so it just feels very specific. And I feel like the show, it goes for something like, again, its jokes and its bits are so specific that I really love it. And it's a commitment. Like I said, it's very narrative driven. It's a commitment to these tones, but they go all out, like the lighting and then just the music and the score and all the actual production. It almost feels like different people directed each sketch. Yeah. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's tonally what it feels like. When they really go for it, and that helps sell the bit even more. I don't want to spoil that. There's a bit involving a hot dog that's one of the funniest moments I've seen in recent memory. It's just there's a few Garfield. There's a Garfield house scene that's incredible. The bit is so simple, but the commitment to it is so specific and strange that I couldn't stop laughing for like 10 full minutes. It's just amazing. I love this show, and I think more people should see it.
I'll definitely watch it tonight.
I think you'll really like it, especially because you love Mr. Show and SNL. Mr. Show's another great, the next one on the list though is Fleabag, which is an Amazon original.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So it's about a girl who lives in London, and the story is told where she'll break the fourth wall, kind of House of Cards style, and so she's essentially narrating what's happening, but saying it to the camera. And so she'll switch mid-scene where she'll turn and look at the camera and then like come back into character and react to what's happening. Yeah. And that seems like it'd be really annoying, but I think that the show kind of settles in and it just her performance is fantastic. Like she's just her ability to kind of switch between like attitudes, like she'll like roll her eyes at the camera and stuff like that. Like it works in a way that just it feels really fresh, and part of that's due to just really good writing. I don't know. I think she's one of the creators or the co-creators on it, but I think she also writes some of it as well. Yeah. I think it was kind of like High Maintenance, where it was like a web series or something, and then they got it made by Amazon. Now it's produced. But it's very funny and very dry and kind of mean at times, but also very sad. There's and the pilot's the perfect example of this. It just kind of, I think it sets the tone very, very well for as a pilot should. Yeah. And it just kind of, it nails like this perfect blend of like, kind of on the surface very funny, but underneath very dark and very sad. And her performance is just fantastic. And I love like her attitude towards life. She's kind of an awful person. She steals things all the time and has like really just manipulative relationships with these guys that she kind of is using for sex or using for her own pleasure in a way that's not healthy at all. And I like that it's a show that allows its character to make mistakes. And then also, she's also likable at the same time. Like she's kind of a horrible person, but it's really entertaining to watch. And, it's got Olivia Colman plays her like stepmom in it. Yeah, I know you love her. And she's really great. It's very awkward, very, very witty, and very sharp. I think it's really interesting. And, I haven't seen all of it yet, but for those that are still listening at this point, I think if that sounds interesting to you, Amazon has it, and I think there's 2 seasons currently. So the next thing on the list, though, is a little show called Stranger Things, which
have you heard of that?
I don't know if you guys have heard of, but it's on Netflix.
So you've only saw season 1, you said.
Yeah, and I didn't really care to see season. So I like this show, and I think it's very well made.
Yeah,
the characters are really really well drawn, and I think all the actors are great. I like the visual style of it. I like the tone of it, but I have no interest in the story, and I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's, I just don't connect with the material. It feels,
it's funny. I mean,
we were watching it the other day because my friends just put that on to punish me. I feel like, and they, I was trying to describe, I was trying to figure out like why I don't enjoy it. And I think the main reason is the same reason that I don't, it feels, so like with Steven Spielberg, right? I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a very pretty good filmmaker. His films, not all of his films, like obviously you got Schindler's List, you've got like Munich, you've got lots of like really dark movies that he's done that are rated R. But a lot of his like PG-13 stuff, like even like Indiana Jones, a lot of these movies are imaginative and like original and just incredible. Like they're just really well made and but they feel a little PG-13 to me, and they always have. Like and the stakes just don't feel as real as like when you've seen a movie like Hereditary, and I'm not saying like just a movie like that though, like a whole, when I watch a lot of genre films, right? Of course, and the stakes are a lot higher in those movies, and I feel like with Stranger Things, like there's no way like these kids are going to die, and so the stakes just they don't feel the same to me, and that's not really. It's more just a preference thing. I like stuff that pushes the envelope more so than is more accessible for a lot of people. Like, and it's not, again, like I appreciate films like Indiana Jones or Steven Spielberg or Close Encounters, stuff like that. But I do feel like I've always felt a little detached from them because I feel like those movies aren't for me. And that's how I feel about Stranger Things. I think it's really well made. It's really well done. It just, everything about it should be something I like. Some of it though also is I think like for instance, like a lot of it reminds me a lot of Twin Peaks in a way.
That's Twin Peaks.
Very much so, actually.
A lot of David Lynch and stuff.
But it's not as strange or weird as Twin Peaks, and so like a lot of things that are paying homage to Twin Peaks, I just don't because it follows a very similar structure. I mean, there's a missing child and a conspiracy, and then supernatural events, and that's obviously a generic statement, but. Still, it's a very idealistic
season 1.
It's a very idealistic society and in a small town in the middle of nowhere, and it hits all those things. And it's an homage to 80s film, like Twin Peaks is an homage to 50s and 60s soap operas. It feels.
And it's funny that you say that because I always catch the 80s references, and today we were watching them before you came. That actually started pointing out Us and Get Out, and I thought that was interesting because they were spot on when he showed the comparison. I was like, oh shit, she was right. But I mean, I'd say 99% of all homages are from the 80s.
Sure. Which is another thing I like. I don't know. I forgot what song it was, but it was just like a really cheesy use of an 80s song in season 3, or I think it was season 3. Maybe it wasn't. And I was like, that feels like it was like we need an 80s song, but that's not the right song for that moment. And there's times like that in the film or in that show where I'm just like, it feels a little indulgent. But that's, I don't know. Overall, my experience has been just kind of, it's good. I can't argue. I understand why people like it.
Something dead inside you, I think.
Yeah, I don't have a
child inside you. Well, I'll say this. And
I
it's
don't
funny
like
that you bring
kids
up the music.
movies, though. I just don't like stuff with kids. I mean, even like I never liked Stand By Me. I never liked. I was never a big Goonies fan. I just like there's movies like
talk about the audiences be like all that audience be like, what, this asshole? But
well, it's just not. These aren't things that I relate to anymore, and that's part of it.
No, and that's acceptable.
There's movies about childhood that I enjoy. Boyhood, for instance, or like recently mid-90s. I enjoy I relate to movies like that occasionally, but those movies are. I mean, both of those are like a lot more R-rated as well. Just in terms of like, I feel like they're a more realistic portrayal. Whereas like, and I don't know, I've always felt detached. So anyway, that's Although that being said, I still think it's a solid film, like a solid series in terms of it's probably one of the best things Netflix has put out.
Agreed. And because it has all that stuff you're mentioning. I mean, like I said, this season, every season gets better and better. And it's funny that you mentioned the music because maybe you might have been right because like I think the only song that didn't work was the fact that they used a song that wasn't in the era that they were portraying. But other than that, the music. Every year they used
it was like Cherry Pie or something like that. It was I don't know what it was, but it was something like that. It was like a rock song from the 80s that just was completely out of place.
Because like every season they do it, like the music in season 1 was mostly the instrumental, the scary type music. Mm-hmm. Season 2, and besides the Clash's Should I Stay or Should I Go, which had a lot to do with the show. And then again, in season 2, the music was there, but just as background music. It was funny because this season, every song was about the scene, and I thought it was used perfectly. And again, the song "I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight," which was perfect for the scene, just that this takes place in 1985, and that song came out in '87. So that's the only thing that threw me off. But other than that, I thought the music was used perfectly. The acting again, it's always. I loved all the actors in this. I love that they got the Terminator guy, and it was shooting more toward the darker films of the 80s or the sci-fi action films of the 80s. They used a lot of the movie The Thing. They used a lot of those references, which I kind of like.
That's the other kind of stuff, though. Like why do these 5-year or like they're what? Well, none of them are more than like 13.
No, they're all 15. Well, in real life, they're all 15, 16, 17.
Well, at least in the first. We were watching the first season.
Yeah.
And like they all have like the Thing posters on the wall. I'm like, there's no fucking way that your parents let you see that, but whatever.
But the point is, they sneak into the movies. Remember, they sneak into the movies.
It's stuff like that. Or maybe it's because I didn't grow up in the 80s. It was a different time.
It was a different time, bro.
But like, there's no way. I mean, maybe it's just there's no way I would have been able to see that, and I don't think there's any way I would have appreciated that movie as a kid. But maybe not. Yeah, it's a great movie, great film. Age?
And it's funny that he says that because I saw
it feels like fan service almost.
So I saw it in '83. So I was 12. And I was head over heels. That was one of my favorite movies of that year. Blade Runner and The Thing came out the same week, I think. And I didn't see it in theaters. I saw them on HBO the following year. So then basically I did see them in '83, which made me 12. And again, they were all 12 and 13 when the movie. I love, you know me, maybe I'm a different kind of kid, but I love The Thing. I love Spielberg. And like I said, you grew up with those, Spielbergian movies, E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark, Star Wars. And it wasn't until I saw Blade Runner and The Thing that my 12-year-old self said, "Oh shit, there's blood and boobs gore and stuff like that," and that graduated me into the darker films of the '80s. And so again, you're saying that they were 12 and 13 season 1, so it could make sense. I mean, again, I came from the urban setting, and they're all in a suburban setting, but still,
I don't even think. Maybe let me rephrase that because that's fair. That's a fair argument.
I think.
Let me rephrase. I think it's more that like these things feel very obvious. That's more my problem with it.
But I mean,
it feels like I don't know.
Making a film about that.
There's just no subtlety to it. Like it's not like to its 80s nostalgia. It just feels like fan service. Like it feels like.
And I hear what you're saying, but it's like my kids love it, and they don't get those references.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm the one who's there. I was telling my cousin's wife. Because she was like...
And it's a minor... This is a minor problem. My bigger problem is what I described earlier.
I hear what you're saying. And I'm sitting there and I was like, oh, that's from this and that from that. And they were ignoring me because they don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Sure.
But it was funny because my cousin's wife was saying the same thing. She was like, oh, yeah, Richie was making us crazy. That's my lawyer. He's making us crazy, yelling out the references. I know the references, but Mia didn't know all the references. And I'm like... But yeah, and I love that. I love the little references. And they are kind of subtle now because, again, when I think about it, the kids who are watching it now who are in love with it, they didn't see any of these movies. And hopefully, because of the show, they're watching these movies that they're referencing so they can get a little bit of that.
And the 80s nostalgia is just a backdrop. It's not what the show's really about. It's just the tone of it.
Sci-fi,
it's a minor problem for me.
And it had a nice ending. It reveals whatever season 4 is going to be about. I thought it's interesting, the whole... you talk about Chernobyl and Russia against America. Yes, I know. But then it was like, it's funny because then I don't know, I can't say this was time for that, but it was like this season you get that Rocky 5 or Rocky 4's, Stallone going against Drago, America versus Russia, and it had that feel too because they introduced Russians in this one and there's a lot of, that and how at the end of the next season, because at the end of the season they give you a little tidbit, you know that's what's going to be, because of course we didn't become friends with them until after the Berlin Wall came down in '89. So you have this set up, and it gives you that, because like I said, the kids nowadays, I mean, they might see that we're not friends with Russia because they got a mob boss running Russia right now. But I mean, we had, after all this, we had this like glorious 20 years of being friends with Russia until most recently. But yeah, I dug it. I actually, this season was better than the other two, and I can't wait for 4. And it's Jeremy don't like it. I mean, I'm not going to go into it. You can watch it. It's free.
Some of it is also I don't watch that many shows.
Yeah.
I really don't. Like, I'm not, and I don't feel like this is like, so if you watch, like, when it comes to dramas, I probably watch 1 to 2 a year at most. Yeah. I really watch TV less than most people. Most of what I watch is comedy stuff that's 30 minutes here and there. It's just easier for me to consume. And so, like, if you had to pick 3 shows this past year to watch, would Stranger Things be one of them?
You mean this year or like last year?
Well, just in the past year. With Chernobyl, True Detective.
Oh, you're saying that. I mean? Oh, okay, you're saying for overall.
It's just like, and I'm not saying it would probably fall. It may fall on your top 5 or 10.
You're different because, like you said, you base it on its merit in film. You base it like Chernobyl.
No, not necessarily.
Well, because I'll be honest, I love Stranger. Would I say if you give me a top 5 of the shows, I'd pick Stranger Things season 3 would be on there. Would people say, oh, how's that better than Chernobyl? It's not, but it's what I enjoy.
It's just more, when you look at it, I'm just trying to show from my perspective what, like if there's shows that, like, I feel like are catered specifically for me, though, like shows that are just...
Yeah, and that would
like
be different.
HBO dramas.
What I tell you to watch Stranger season 3 is like if I'm saying, oh, you got to watch the show.
Yeah.
No.
Well, but everybody does, though. Everybody does that. Everybody's like, you got to watch Chernobyl. You got to watch, Stranger Things. You got to watch, et cetera.
You're right. And
I think you should leave. You got to watch Fleabag. You got to watch... there's so many things.
Well, listen, and I'm going to plug this before we leave because that was the last thing on the thing. But, and again, hopefully you watch it and we talk about it next time. But The Boys is going to be an Amazon Prime original on my birthday, July 26th.
Interesting.
You need to watch that. And I'm praying to God that it's just like the comic book because it looks just like the comic book. And again, if it's not The Watchmen per se, but
the Watchmen's one I will be watching.
Yes,
for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's really my viewing is almost solely HBO. Like to be honest.
No. But Fleabag is Amazon. But I'm saying
that's comedy.
In tone, The Watchmen. What we like about The Watchmen, the film, we haven't seen the HBO series yet, was that it was adapted 85 to 90% like the comic, which was dark, gory, gritty,
for sure.
And so far from the trailer of The Boys, the full trailer, it looks like amazing. It looks amazing. And like I said, it basically, and again, right now with, superhero movies all the rage, basically the comic book by Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson, it's basically you have these Avengers or Justice League type group who are, they do whatever they not only do whatever they do, like in Superman, Man of Steel, where, at the end, all this destruction that happens, which leads into Batman vs. Superman, Superman's not going to be like, oh, shit, let me go fly back and save those people. Your mission is to kill the bad or stop the bad guy. So you have this universe where, just like in perspective, they're heroes and shit happens and they're objects and stuff. But you also have these heroes who are narcissistic that get off on that. So if they plow through a building to stop some bad guy and people are killed, they dig on that. That's something like, oh, we can do that because we can do whatever we want.
Gotcha.
And the boys are this group by this shadow government who are there to stop them from doing these things.
Okay.
And so it's like if you watch the trailer, even though I don't like the casting of Wee Huey, I hate it because he was actually drawn to be like Simon Pegg. Simon Pegg was the archetype for the comic book character, unfortunately. I don't know why Simon Pegg, I guess because he was too old. But the guy they picked looks horrible. But in the comic book, like the reason why Wee Huey joins this gang, and he's the least of a superhero. They all have like this superpower enhancements like Captain America, and he doesn't want to do that. But because him and his fiance were in love, and they're out in front of a market and they're about to kiss, and the Flash character just rips right through her. And, he's like holding her hands and she's all smacked. He's like, I'm sorry, but I got to go. I got to stop this bad guy. And he keeps going. And it's like, that is the world in this universe. And it's like, the comic book's amazing. It gets into politics, gets all that stuff. But man, that's my recommendation because the next time we record is going to be in August because I'm going to Disney in a couple of weeks. But, or we can do it probably a little bit sooner than that. But yeah, that's the show I want to, because if it's an Amazon Prime original, it's The Boys.
So you're telling me of all the things that people have
far,
said, you gotta watch this, you gotta watch that,
because
you gotta watch
listen,
this.
my birthday,
The Boys.
I recommend it. And on my birthday,
I'm not questioning it. I'm just confirming that that's what this is. This is what you only get one show
Veronica
a year.
Mars, new season on my birthday on Hulu. Definitely, I recommend that. If you haven't seen Veronica Mars, I dare you to watch the first episode and not watch anymore. What else? Well, Ron is in the other room. I don't want to get on camera. On the radio, but there's like 4 other things that come. There's another movie opening on my birthday too, on July 26th. I'm dying to see. It's like everything happens on my birthday. I'm not even going to be here. I'm going to be in Florida. But yeah, so the end of the month has got a lot of cool things for you to look forward. Veronica Mars on Hulu season 4. You got The Boys on Amazon Prime. And again, I know there's a movie coming out on my birthday, and I don't know what it is, but
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
There you go, brother. Quentin Tarantino's
I got you.
9th film. Are you going to watch that, bro?
Of course I am. It looks great.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
No, that is my thing.
Yeah, see? So, yeah, I'll recommend that to you, Jerry.
I guarantee you that'll have
Jerry,
stakes.
on my birthday, go see that movie for my birthday. That'll be my birthday present from you to me.
Vanilla.
Non-vanilla. Like Stranger Things, he's saying.
Yep. It's vanilla. Right. It's a little vanilla for me.
Where's that from? When they say it's
usually people refer to it when it comes to sex.
We said in a movie. Oh, okay.
But, that's what's so inappropriate about it. But yeah.
All right. Well, so that was episode 31, chock full of films that you should see. Definitely Midsommar.
Go see Midsommar. It's fucking awesome. I'm probably gonna go see it again.
Far From Home, another movie that we both enjoyed.
Yep.
So go check
that out.
Yeah,
if you like superhero movies, it's good. Obviously, you would probably. If you like superhero movies, you probably are aware of Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Far From Home, yeah.
you may have heard of it. A little movie.
But and speaking of Millie Bobby Brown was cast in The Eternals, which I'm very angry about. But
interesting.
But I still want to see it now because But yeah, I can't wait to see her. She's going to join the MCU with Eternals, which is Angelina Jolie was the first one cast in that. Which I don't know who she's going to be, but whatever. Yeah. All right, well, that's all for us.
Stranger Things sucks. I'm just kidding.
Until next time, I'm Carlos Hernandez.
I'm Jeremy Knight.
And we'll see you on the next one. You take care. Bye.